Chapter 330. A battle of great disparity. When Palace Master Yang heard this, he immediately became anxious and whispered, "Along, that's a treasure. Because it was damaged, it was reduced to a Xian armament. As for what grade it was originally, I don't know. I'm fine." Xiao Yang Long smiled faintly and handed the Sun Moon Profound Bowl to Lan Huayu. "If I lose, I will give this bowl to Qin Yun." Although everyone did not know what the Sun Moon Profound Bowl was, seeing how anxious Palace Head Yang was, they knew that it was something even more precious than the Blue Spirit Profound Robe. Palace Head Yang thought for a moment and felt that Qin Yun had no chance of winning. Thus, he felt relieved. In order to ensure fairness, he handed the Blue Spirit Profound Robe to Lan Huayu. Although Lan Huayu had a good relationship with Qin Yun, everyone knew that he was a very fair person. Therefore, they were very relieved. No one is allowed to use weapons or armor in this competition. Lan Huayu said, "If someone uses it, I will be able to detect it. I hope you won't overdo it." Xiao Yanglong laughed. "Stop there? Isn't this a little too childish? Since we're going to fight, then let's be straightforward. Let's fight to the death. If I lose, I'll die. That's how spectacular it is. I, Xiao Yanglong, have participated in so many martial arts competitions, but I have never been defeated. If I lose, then there's no meaning in living anymore." Yang sure you really wanted to go up and persuade Qin Yun. However, when she saw Qin Yun's terrifyingly calm appearance, for some reason, she suddenly felt a lot more at ease. A life-and-death battle it is. Qin Yun did not have any objections and readily agreed. Lan Huayu sighed and said, "All right, when the formation opens, none of you will be able to leave, and no one will be able to enter until the victor is decided." Palace Master Yang and the old men walked down the stage with a smug look on their faces. Xiao Yanglong was also a little excited at this moment. His fists were slightly trembling, and he appeared to be very excited, because by defeating Qin Yun, not only would their fame spread far and wide, they could also obtain Qin Yun's precious items. Lan Huayu also left the battling platform and stood on top of an array pillar. He indicated for Qin Yun and Xiao Yanglong to walk to the edge of the battling platform. The battling platform was built in the plaza. It was very big, enough for a big battle. Separated by dozens of meters, the two of them were making their final preparations. Everyone also stood up and watched seriously. Those who watched Qin Yun's martial arts competition had a deep impression of Qin Yun's strong willpower. Although they knew that Qin Yun would lose, they felt that Qin Yun wouldn't lose so quickly. Furthermore, they wanted to see how long he could last. Everyone was well aware of Qin Yun's intentions in challenging Xiao Yanglong. It was to stop this marriage. Yang Shi was forced to marry. Everyone knew that Xiao Yanglong had many tricks up his sleeve. He must have used despicable methods to achieve his goal. Although Xiao Yanglong had stepped into the martial Dao realm very early on, he had always been at the first level of the martial Dao realm. It was difficult for him to break through. However, it was still much stronger than the martial body realm. The advantage of the martial Dao realm over the martial body realm was that one could use the power of the great Dao. Xiao Yanglong looked at the sky. The 9 suns had yet to rise into the sky. He said to Lan Huayu, "Elder Lan, it's almost noon now. Let's start the competition at that time. That is also the time when the 9 suns' spiritual energy is the most abundant." "Sure." Lan Huayu nodded. He also hoped that Qin Yun would be able to make more preparations during this period of time. Xiao Yanglong smiled confidently. His body suddenly flashed with a golden light as a golden ball of light suddenly surged out from his dantian and rose into the sky. When they saw this golden ball of light, everyone suddenly thought that this was a martial spirit, a gold-rank sun martial spirit. Xiao Yanglong's martial spirit was actually a martial spirit bestowed by the heavens. The people below the battling platform all sucked in a breath of cold air. This was the sun martial spirit that was on par with the moon martial spirit. Although it was a gold rank, it was even rarer than the moon martial spirit. Everyone felt that Xiao Yanglong's gold sun martial spirit was comparable to Yang Shiyu's purple gold moon martial spirit. Qin Yun's expression was also extremely solemn. He never expected that Xiao Yanglong's hidden martial spirit would also be a martial spirit bestowed by the heavens. Lan Fengjin was originally not too worried about Qin Yun, but now that she saw Xiao Yanglong's gold sun martial spirit, she immediately felt uneasy. Xiao Wufeng raised his head to look at the small golden sun and said in a deep voice, "Brother Yun is facing Xiao Yanglong. The pressure is even greater. I hope he can hold on." Zhuo Chuan sighed. I really didn't expect that Xiao Yanglong's talent would be so terrifying. Xiao Yanglong's gold sun martial spirit had completely shocked everyone present. Qin Yun's brows furrowed together. He could feel the terrifying power of the sun the most. Qin Yun, Yang Shiryu is your teacher, but you don't know how to respect your teacher. You covet her beauty and want to take her for yourself. You're going to be struck by lightning if you have this kind of idea. Xiao Yanglong sneered loudly. Furthermore, you know that she is my fiancée, but you hid your strength and pretended to be pitiful so that she could get close to you, so that you could make your move. You were so young, but you were so sinister and despicable. You clearly have Yuelan as your wife, but you were still half-hearted and fell in love with your own teacher. How despicable. Xiao Yanglong, don't talk nonsense. Shut up. Qin Yun was immediately infuriated as he roared. Many people below the stage were pointing fingers at Qin Yun. After all, this was a crime that could not be punished. When Yang Shiryu heard these words, she was so angry that she trembled. She also knew that this was not the case at all. Qin Yun, looking at your flustered and exasperated look, it's true. Xiao Yanglong laughed loudly. Today, I will use the power of the sun martial spirit to enforce justice on behalf of the heavens and get rid of a villain like you. Qin Yun was so angry that he was at a loss for words. Such a matter was difficult to explain clearly. Xiao Yanglong said with a sneer, Qin Yun, it's not bad that you have twin martial spirits, but compared to Yang Shiryu's purple gold moon martial spirit, you are still far inferior. Only my golden sun martial spirit is worthy of her. She's only treating you well because she sympathizes with you. Don't think too highly of yourself. Qin Yun knew very well that Xiao Yanglong had married Yang Shiryu in order to use an evil dual cultivation technique to harvest Yang Shiryu's purple moon martial spirit. That was why he had to stop them at all costs. This was what he had overheard in the Beastmen mountain range. At that time, Xiao Yanglong had told Palace Chief Yang, although he knew no one would believe him if he said it out loud. Therefore, he could only defeat Xiao Yanglong and stop his evil scheme. Qin Yun is truly a scum. Yang Shiryu treats him so well, but he actually harbors evil intentions. He actually has such thoughts about his own teacher. His crime is truly unforgivable. He is now a disciple of Blue Spirit Star Palace. This is truly a disgrace to our Blue Spirit Star Palace. Even if he doesn't die after the duel with Xiao Yanglong, he will still be captured and burned at the stake. No wonder Xiao Yanglong wants to have a life and death battle with him. So that's how it is. Many people were criticizing Qin Yun, making him sound like he was guilty of heinous crimes. As for the people pointing at Qin Yun, most of them were disciples of Blue Spirit Star Palace. They were extremely jealous of Qin Yun. Now that they had the opportunity, how could they let it go? Qin Yun, Yang Shiryu is mine. You are not worthy of her. After defeating you, she will be mine. I will treat her well. Xiao Yanglong laughed sinisterly in a low voice. Qin Yun was trembling with anger. Xiao Yanglong viewed Yang Shiryu as a cauldron and wanted to destroy her. Yang Shiryu gritted her teeth in anger. The damage to Qin Yun's reputation made her feel very uncomfortable. At this moment, the golden sun above Xiao Yanglong's head became even more intense. Noon had arrived. The match begins. Lan Huayu shouted. Xiao Yanglong had a sun martial spirit. The reason why he dragged it out until noon was to make his sun martial spirit stronger. Just now, he had been using the sun martial spirit to constantly absorb the spiritual energy of the 9 suns and had been condensing his power. Qin Yun, killing you is as easy as mowing grass. Xiao Yang Long smiled proudly and withdrew the sun martial spirit that was filled with power into his body. His body turned into a golden light and flashed into the air. At the same time, he avoided Qin Yun, who was flying over. Qin Yun's attack missed. Xiao Yang Long, who was in the air, struck the ground with his palm. A golden palm image pressed down like a mountain, covering the entire battling platform. Boom! The golden palm print smashed down. It was incomparably scorching and surged out with a golden blazing sun flame. The scorching heat surged out through the formation and turned into a heat wave that enveloped the entire plaza. The martial stage shook and the red carpet was instantly vaporized. Qin Yun was enveloped by the intense, golden flames. Has Qin Yun been burned to death? He really can't withstand a single blow. After all, he is only at the 9th level martial body realm. It's normal for him to be killed by Xiao Yang Long in one move. Boring, he's dead just like that. Just as everyone thought that Qin Yun had been killed, a violent shockwave suddenly surged up from the ground and charged at Xiao Yang Long. That was the power of tsunami heaven destruction that Qin Yun had unleashed through his internal supreme force. It was a combination of the Qi explosion technique, tsunami technique, and the 6th style of the forging dragon, heaven destruction. Hong! There was another deafening sound that shook the heavens. Xiao Yang Long, who was floating in the air, was secretly alarmed. He never expected that Qin Yun would be completely fine. The force shot out like a ray of light and struck Xiao Yang Long. Xiao Yang Long let out an angry groan as he slammed his palm down on the ground, once again sweeping up the violent flames of the sun. Qin Yun let out a loud roar as he stomped on the ground. He used tsunami technique to disperse the flames. Qin Yun, who was on the battling platform, was completely unharmed. The flames could not injure him. Qin Yun had awakened the bloodline of the heavenly lion, so he was not afraid of ice or fire. Xiao Yang Long's flames only made him feel very hot. They could not burn him at all. Xiao Yang Long never expected that Qin Yun would not be afraid of his flames. Don't be arrogant, as Xiao Yang Long shouted coldly. He descended from the sky like a golden meteor. His palm struck at Qin Yun's head. Qin Yun had also expected Xiao Yang Long to attack. With a fierce roar, he used the heavenly lion's roar. What was terrifying was that when he roared, the sound waves actually contained streaks of purplish gold lightning. Accompanied by a shocking lion roar, it danced and attacked Xiao Yang Long. Qin Yun had actually forced Xiao Yang Long to retreat. The plaza immediately fell silent. They had thought that Xiao Yang Long would crush Qin Yun from the very beginning and end the match in a few moves. But now, Qin Yun had blocked and counterattacked twice. It seemed like he had the upper hand. Chapter 331. The power of the Great Way. The greatest advantage of the martial Dao realm over the martial body realm was that one could use the powerful and mysterious power of the Great Dao. And when Xiao Yang Long was competing with Qin Yun, he did not use the power of the Great Dao. Xiao Yang Long had originally thought that if he used ordinary strength to fight with Qin Yun, the martial arts competition would last for a period of time. It would allow him to ravage Qin Yun, making it more enjoyable to watch. He didn't expect Qin Yun's strength to be so terrifying. If he did not use the power of the Great Dao of the martial Dao realm, it would be difficult for him to win. Just as Xiao Yang Long leaped up, Qin Yun let out another roar. He used the heavenly lion's roar and released a terrifying sound wave with lightning that wreaked havoc. Insignificant skill. Xiao Yang Long shouted coldly and angrily. His body shook and a glaring golden sun light overflowed, blocking the sound wave lightning. Qin Yun was illuminated by the intense light and felt a stabbing pain in his body. He hastily retreated to the side of the battle stage. One had to know that the heavenly lion's heavenly roar that he had just used, after the heavenly lion totem evolved, had increased its strength by a lot. The roar contained lightning. However, it was melted by the light released by Xiao Yang Long's body. It's the power of a great Tao, a power that completely represses Qin Yun. Xiaoyang Long has the Gold Sun martial spirit. The great Tao life mark he cultivates is definitely related to the sun. This kind of great Tao power is extremely powerful. This is the advantage of having a martial spirit, the power of the great Tao bestowed by the heavens. When Xiaoyang Long saw Qin Yun's astonished expression, he sneered. The ninth-level martial body realm is truly unable to withstand a single blow from the power of the great Tao. With that said, his body dragged a golden phantom behind him. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Qin Yun and struck out with his palm. He did not use any martial skills. It was just a casual slap, but it was unbelievably fast as it hit Qin Yun's face. Bang! Qin Yun's face was struck by the palm, causing an explosive sound to ring out. He was also sent flying and crashed into the transparent wall. The power of the great Tao is truly terrifying. Qin Yun was alarmed as he hurriedly rolled on the ground to avoid the golden light that Xiaoyang Long had shot at him. Boom! The ball of golden light missed, but it still exploded with a very strong air wave, blowing Qin Yun away. When Xiaoyang Long used the power of the great Tao, all aspects increased exponentially, especially in terms of speed. It was not something that Qin Yun could compare with. Let's see how many moves you can dodge. Xiaoyang Long sneered. With a flash, he arrived above Qin Yun and suddenly descended. His thigh, which was filled with the power of the golden great Tao, ruthlessly stomped on Qin Yun's abdomen. Bang! An intense tremor and a ferocious stampede shook everyone's hearts. Qin Yun's abdomen was ruthlessly smashed. Blood spurted out of his mouth like an arrow as he let out a blood-curdling scream. When Yang Shiyu saw this, she clenched her jade-like fist tightly. Her heart ached as tears welled up in her beautiful eyes. Qin Yun suffered such torture because of her, and she could only watch from below, unable to do anything. That bastard Xiaoyang Long, I won't let him off. Lan Fengjin stomped her feet anxiously as she watched. Her heart was filled with hatred. Qin Yun was her master. If he were to be killed by Xiaoyang Long, it would be a blood feud. Xia Wufeng said solemnly, "If Brother Yun can't get up again, it will be dangerous." The oppressive sword aura on his body was faintly discernible, as if it wanted to gush out, but was suppressed by him. When Xiaoyang Long saw Qin Yun's pained expression, he narrowed his eyes and said with a sneer, "Qin Yun, you were so confident before. I really thought you had some ability, but it's only so. With that said, his thigh flashed with a golden light as he ruthlessly kicked Qin Yun, sending him flying and crashing into a pillar in the distance. Qin Yun lay on the ground, moaning in pain. Although he had suffered 2 heavy blows, the Vajra bones in his body were not broken. Only his muscles and meridians were damaged. The tree totem in his Nether Sun martial spirit had also quietly awakened. The totem patterns were like tree roots, wrapping around his meridians, bones, and muscles. Sensing that the tree totem had woken up, Qin Yun was secretly delighted. He hurriedly used the 9 Yang divine spirit to absorb the 9 suns' spiritual energy. This could quickly repair the injuries to his muscles and meridians. Boom! Xiaoyang Long rushed over again and slapped down with his palm. The force condensed from the power of the great Tao covered Qin Yun's body. Like a huge mountain crashing down, it ruthlessly pressed down, causing the martial stage to tremble violently. This attack was clearly much stronger than the previous 2. After all, it was a life-and-death battle. Xiaoyang Long's attacks were getting heavier and heavier. Qin Yun's clothes were also in tatters. However, Qin Yun did not shout this time. Qin Yun had a certain understanding of Xiaoyang Long. He was only at the first level of the martial Tao realm and could not condense much great Tao energy. As long as he used up most of his great Tao energy, he would have a chance to win. Qin Yun, you have gone against me time and time again, causing me to suffer quite a bit and lose all my face. Now, I want to get back at you one by one. Xiaoyang Long stomped down on Qin Yun's upper body. Every stomp was filled with the power of the great Tao. It looked incomparably ferocious, but Qin Yun actually stopped screaming. Let's see how long you can endure. What Xiaoyang Long liked the most was to hear Qin Yun's screams. However, Qin Yun was no longer screaming. This made him very angry. That was because Qin Yun's nether sun inner core was devouring Xiao Yang Long's great Tao of the sun. The nether sun could devour the power of the sun, moon, and stars, especially with the mysterious tree totem attached to it. It can make the inner core even more stable, allowing it to withstand the waves of energy that were devoured. Qin Yun, who was lying on the ground, took a deep breath. His body suddenly overflowed with black gas, and his eyes turned pitch black. Seeing this, everyone watched with bated breath. Finally, Qin Yun was going to use the black vibration martial spirit. Previously, Qin Yun had not allowed the vibration martial spirit to possess his body in order to protect himself. At this moment, the power of the nether sun inner core could completely protect his body and allow the vibration martial spirit to attack in full force. When Yang Shiyu saw this scene, she was astonished. At the same time, she secretly felt relieved. That was because Qin Yun still had a backup plan. Everyone had originally thought that Qin Yun would be killed by Xiaoyang Long very soon. However, no one expected Qin Yun to be so stubborn. Xiaoyang Long felt Qin Yun's terrifying vibration power and became extremely anxious. He allowed a deep roar as the golden light on his body became even more intense. Then it condensed on his fists. Qin Yun, go to hell. Xiaoyang Long bellowed as his pair of golden fists ruthlessly smashed down on Qin Yun's head. The entire Western Palace began to shake. From this, it could be seen how terrifying the power of the Great Tao was. Using such a powerful power of the Great Tao to attack a martial artist at the 9th level martial body realm could be said to be invincible and unstoppable. When Xiaoyang Long's fists landed, the vibrating power condensed from Qin Yun's internal supreme force howled out from his body and blocked the two powerful fists. The vibrating power was also dispersed by the fists. Qin Yun had successfully blocked the fatal attack. Everyone was dumbfounded. Xiaoyang Long did not expect that not only would Qin Yun block his attack, he would also recover as if nothing had happened. His reaction was also very fast. He immediately circulated the little remaining power of the Great Tao and charged at Qin Yun. Qin Yun also punched out fiercely. Using his internal supreme force to execute the tsunami technique, he stirred up a black ripple. 9 ripples formed 9 shock waves that collided with each other. Xiaoyang Long hurriedly waved his palms and struck towards the terrifying shockwave of internal supreme force. At that moment, Qin Yun and Xiaoyang Long were evenly matched. One had to know that Qin Yun was only at the 9th level martial body realm. Not only could he last that long, he could even exchange blows with Xiaoyang Long. Was this really the power of the 9th level martial body realm? During the intense battle, Qin Yun's clothes had long since been tattered. Everyone could see his muscles. This meant that he was not wearing any light inscription equipment, but his recovery speed was so terrifying. Xiaoyang Long, you are only a so. After Qin Yun finished speaking, he used the mysterious star steps to walk over. The heavenly lion's arm overflowed with a purplish gold mist. Lightning and fire coiled around it, forming a gigantic lion claw. Many people were very familiar with Qin Yun's heavenly lion fighting dragon claw. However, the lion claws that had been formed were even larger and longer. They were like long blades, and even carried purplish gold, lightning, and fire. The moment the heavenly lion fighting dragon claw appeared, it was followed by the 6-style wind slayer. The heavenly lion's bloodline in Qin Yun's body was completely boiling. The swollen muscles emitted a terrifying ancient beast power. It was as if it could slay dragons and slay immortals. Its might was monstrous, and it could destroy everything. Arrogant, Xiaoyang Long bellowed in anger. Golden light exploded from his body as he slapped his palms repeatedly. Condensing the power of the Great Tao, he met Qin Yun's 6-style wind slayer claw. On the battling platform, Thunder roared and lion roared. Violent winds and thunder rumbled endlessly. From time to time, golden and purple light would explode out. 6 styles of Wind Slayer. 6 styles were used in succession. The fighting dragon lion claw slashed down, sweeping up purplish gold, lightning, and fierce flames. It was like an angry dragon dancing in the air with an oppressive aura as it whizzed towards Xiao Yanglong. Xiao Yanglong used his palms to receive 6 slashes. His hair was disheveled and his clothes were tattered. He looked extremely miserable. Everyone was dumbfounded. Qin Yun's strength seemed to have suddenly increased. It had actually become so terrifying. Even a martial Dao realm cultivator who used the power of the great Dao was beaten into such a sorry state. Along, quickly use your earth tier martial arts. Palace head Yang of the Western Palace was also extremely anxious as he hurriedly shouted, "There's no chance." Qin Yun used the mysterious star steps and attacked ferociously once again. On his robust upper body, many black patterns suddenly appeared on the muscles of his chest. The black patterns overflowed with a faint black aura. It looked extremely shocking. Totem inscriptions. A totem has appeared on Qin Yun's chest. Someone cried out involuntarily. It's really a totem. What the hell is going on? Not only does Qin Yun have 2 martial spirits, he also has 2 totems. This is too terrifying. How can he let others live? Look, that's the Dragon Tiger Totem. Zhou Zhonghui's Dragon Tiger Totem. A Star Palace elder widened his eyes and shouted. Zhou Zhonghui was a genius disciple of Nangong Palace. Later on, he awakened the Dragon Tiger Totem spirit and was killed in a duel with Qin Yun. No one expected that the Dragon Tiger Totem would fall into Qin Yun's hands and be hidden within the vibration martial spirit. Everyone in the Western Palace Square was dumbfounded by this. Chapter 332. Furious breakthrough when Xiao Yanglong saw the Dragon Tiger Totem on Qin Yun's body. He was secretly alarmed. Just as he was about to use an earth-tier martial art, Qin Yun's body suddenly overflowed with black scales. Those were dragon scales. However, it wasn't real. It was just an illusion. The moment the black dragon scales appeared, they flew out and turned into black daggers. They enveloped Xiao Yanglong and crazily slashed at him. This was the totem martial art that Qin Yun had just comprehended from the Dragon Tiger Totem. Dragon Tiger Violent Scale Slash. Xiao Yanglong was caught off guard by the countless black scales, and his power of the Great Dao was also becoming weaker and weaker. Qin Yun had 2 martial spirits and 2 inner cores. Even against a martial Dao realm cultivator, he was still far from it. However, with 2 totems, it was different. Furthermore, he could use the mysterious martial arts of these 2 totems. It's over, Qin Yun said coldly. A purplish gold lightning flame suddenly flashed on his fist, condensing into a mighty purplish gold heavenly lion head. This was the angel's lightning force, and it was also a totem martial art. He used the mysterious star steps and flew over, his fist fiercely charging at Xiao Yanglong. The purplish gold martial lion head roared and charged forward. Roar! Boom! 2 loud sounds accompanied by a blinding purplish gold light shook the Western Palace Plaza. Xiao Yanglong was sent flying into the formation pillar. His body was lacerated and covered in blood. He landed on the ground, gasping for breath. His eyes were filled with resentment and fear. He was in the martial Dao realm, and his body was extremely strong. His Dao core and martial spirit were not destroyed, but he was still severely injured. Xiao Yanglong sat paralyzed on the ground, without the strength to retaliate. Xiao Yanglong, who was in the martial Dao realm, had actually lost to Qin Yun, who was at the 9th level martial body realm. Everyone in the Western Palace Plaza was tongue-tied as they looked at Qin Yun, who was standing proudly. The plaza was still extremely quiet. Everyone was quietly looking at Qin Yun. This was a life-and-death battle. Xiao Yanglong was not dead yet. Next, Qin Yun would definitely kill Xiao Yanglong. Qin Yun quickly stopped. Palace head Yang of the Western Palace shouted anxiously. Xiao Yang Long has already been defeated. You have obtained victory in those prizes. Are you still not satisfied? Although Xiao Yang Long had been defeated, his foundation was still there. The Golden Sun martial spirit was very rare. He was still a promising talent. This is a life and death battle. Qin Yun's heavenly lion arm turned into a lion claw as he walked towards Xiao Yang Long. The Yang family was the angriest. This was because Xiao Yang Long had promised them that once he successfully married Yang Shiryu, the seniors of the Yang family would receive a lot of benefits. But now, Xiao Yang Long had suffered a crushing defeat to Qin Yun and was about to be killed. They would not be able to obtain those good items. Suddenly, a tall and skinny old man from the Yang family took out a water jar from his storage spirit artifact. A pale-faced, absent-minded middle-aged man was soaking in the water jar. The middle-aged man was very weak and could barely open his eyes. When Yang Shiryu saw the middle-aged man in the water jar, she suddenly cried out in grief. "Father!" The tall and skinny old man said with a sneer. "Yang Shiryu, quickly get Qin Yun to let Xiao Yang Long go and then marry Xiao Yang Long. You must know that all these years, it was Xiao Yang Long who provided the medicinal liquid to prolong your father's life." Yang Shiryu looked at Qin Yun. She, who had always been strong and aloof, could not help but tear up. The way she cried in pain caused Qin Yun's heart to shatter. Suddenly, a skinny old man appeared. It was Wu Xiang. "I can also concoct that medicinal liquid." Wu Xiang rushed over and shouted, "The person in the water jar has been poisoned." Furthermore, the medicinal liquid provided also contains a small amount of poison, which is why he is always half dead. Now, everyone came to a realization. The person in the water jar was Yang Shiryu's father, the patriarch of the Yang family who had been in seclusion all year round, Yang Yuanming. But now, everyone knew that Yang Yuanming was not in seclusion. He was soaking in a water jar filled with medicinal liquid. Those medicinal liquids were all provided by Xiao Yang Long. It could be seen that there was a conspiracy behind this. The few people from the Yang family who wanted to snatch the position of patriarch had also cooperated with Xiao Yang Long and done such a thing. They did not kill Yang Yuanming because they wanted Yang Shiryu to successfully marry Xiao Yang Long. They had been using this as a threat. Qin Yun clenched his fists tightly. He was infuriated. This kind of method was common. Previously, Xiao Yang Long had planned to use Xiao Yuanmei to threaten Xiao Yuelon, but he did not succeed. When the tall and skinny old man from the Yang family saw that the situation was not right, he hurriedly took out a knife and placed it on Yang Yuanming's neck. He shouted, "Don't act recklessly, otherwise I will kill Yang Yuanming. Although he is half dead, he can still be saved. Do you want to kill him?" Yang Shiryu was filled with grief and anger, but there was nothing she could do. She could only grit her teeth and look angrily at the few elders with tears in her eyes. "Yang Shiryu, come here quickly." The tall and skinny old man shouted with a sinister expression. Yang Shiryu could only go over and look at the tall and skinny old man with a face full of killing intent. The tall and skinny old man's expression suddenly turned extremely sinister as he struck Yang Shiryu's abdomen with a palm. With a boom, Yang Shiryu let out a miserable cry and spat out a large mouthful of blood. Her face turned pale. This scene caused everyone to be stunned. Yang Shiryu was caught off guard and was heavily injured by the power of the great Tao of the martial Tao realm. This was extremely serious, and it was extremely likely that she would be crippled. "Teacher!" Qin Yun roared angrily. Lan Fengjin and Lan Huayu also rushed over and checked on Yang Shiryu's injuries. "Sister Lan, how is she?" Qin Yun asked hurriedly. "Don't come over, or I'll kill Yang Yuanming." The tall and skinny old man had also gone crazy. He had actually heavily injured Yang Shiryu, a saint disciple. Palace head Yang of the Western Palace also hurried over and said, "Yang Shiryu, quickly get Qin Yun to let Xiao Yang Long go. Otherwise, you know the consequences." The tall and skinny old man laughed coldly as he forcefully grabbed Yang Yuanming's throat. Yang Shiryu lay in Lan Fengjin's embrace. Lan Huayu, Zhuo and the palace master of the Eastern Palace were also combing through her injuries. Wu Xiang also came over and took Yang Shiyu's pulse. With a serious expression, he said, "It's not looking good. Although she is stabilized, her Tao core and martial spirit are severely injured. I'm afraid it will be difficult to recover in the future, and it will affect her for the rest of her life." On the battling platform, Qin Yun could not walk out of the formation. He could only stare blankly at the haggard Yang Shiryu. Xiao Yang Long laughed sinisterly in a low voice. "Qin Yun, if I can't obtain it, I will destroy it. Yang Shi, you has already been crippled, huh? Xiao Yang Long, you bastard. You married teacher Yang only to cultivate demonic arts with her and use her as a cauldron." Qin Yun cursed angrily as he took out a jade pendant. The jade pendant belonged to Xiao Yang Long's disciple, Zhang Heng. Zhang Heng was killed by you. When Xiao Yang Long saw the jade pendant, he suddenly thought of many things. The beast oil in the Beastman mountain range had been ignited. It was clearly Qin Yun's doing. When Palace Head Yang of the Western Palace found out, he was even more furious. The beast oil was something that could allow the Western Palace to dominate the Blue Spirit Star Palace. However, this plan had been destroyed by Qin Yun. "Qin Yun, quickly release Xiao Yang Long, or Yang Yuanming will die." Palace Head Yang said angrily. Suddenly, Yang Yuanming, who was half dead in the water jar, laughed crazily. "Ha ha! I'll die now. Let's see what you can do." With that, Yang Yuanming let out a blood-curdling scream and spat out a large mouthful of blood before dying in the water jar. "Father!" The weak Yang Shiryu screamed miserably, her eyes filled with tears. She had endured humiliation in the Yang family for so long just to let her father recover. But now her father was dead. Everyone watched quietly. Only Yang Shiryu's cries echoed in the square, filled with desolation and pain. Qin Yun's mind suddenly went blank. He clenched his fists tightly and blamed himself in his heart. "Teacher, I'm sorry," Qin Yun roared as he grabbed Xiao Yang Long and placed his hand on Xiao Yang Long's abdomen. He had used the soul refining art on Xiao Yang Long. Xiao Yang Long immediately let out a heart-wrenching scream. Everyone immediately looked at the battling platform and saw that Xiao Yang Long's abdomen was shining with a golden light. The golden sun martial spirit was slowly extracted by Qin Yun. The soul extraction technique was a demonic technique. "Lan Huayu, what are you still standing there for? Quickly remove the formation and capture Qin Yun." Palace Head Yang of the Western Palace shouted anxiously with red eyes. "He's using the soul extraction art." There had been rumors before. After Qin Yun fell into the forbidden area, it was extremely likely that he would learn the soul refining demon's soul refining art. Everyone was now very sure that the rumors were true. The weak Yang Shiryu also saw this frightening scene and hurriedly said to Lan Fengjin, "Sister Lan, quickly help Qin Yun. He will be killed if he uses this kind of demonic art." Xia Wufeng said expressionlessly, "Don't worry, even if I die, I will help Qin Yun escape from Blue Spirit Star Palace." "Qin Yun, you devil." Palace Head Yang came to the side of the battling platform and crazily attacked the formation. It had to be said that Lan Huayu's array pillar was extremely powerful. It was able to withstand Palace Head Yang's power. Qin Yun pulled out Xiao Yang Long's martial spirit and allowed his Nether Sun martial spirit to devour it. Suddenly, a wave of black gas leaked out from his body. The arm of the heavenly lion flickered with a purplish gold light. At this moment, Xiao Yang Long was in incomparable pain and despair to the extreme. He let out a painful cry as he cursed Qin Yun. Qin Yun closed his eyes and saw that the surface of the vibration inner core, Nether Sun inner core, and Thunderfire inner core had clear markings on them. The great Tao life marks had completely appeared on the surface of the three inner cores. Whoosh! His body suddenly trembled as an incomparably violent power of the great Tao surged out. The vibration and purplish gold lightning and fire energy waves penetrated the great formation and engulfed the Western Palace Plaza. This was the power of the great Tao. Qin Yun had released the power of the Great Tao, which meant that he had stepped into the martial Tao realm. He was not even 20 years old, and he possessed dual martial spirits, dual Tao cores, dual totems. He was even a high-ranked inscription master. Such talent could only be described as heaven-defying. The experts outside the battling platform were all stunned. Like stone statues, they stared at Qin Yun, whose entire body was surging with black gas. Lan Huayu was the closest to the battling platform, so he could feel how terrifying the power of the Great Tao was. He was very sure that Qin Yun had truly stepped into the martial Tao realm. The power of the Great Tao. He has stepped into the martial Tao realm. Qin Yun is a martial Tao realm cultivator. This must be fake. That power of the Great Tao can only be released by someone in the martial Tao realm. It's really the martial Tao realm. He's not even 20 years old, and he's already in the martial Tao realm. This guy is too terrifying. The plaza of the Western Palace was enveloped in waves of exclamations as it boiled over. Chapter 333. Go on a rampage, Xiao Yang Long stopped shouting. He was already stunned by the terrifying power of the Great Tao on Qin Yun's body. He looked at Qin Yun with incomparable fear. Qin Yun, who was at the 9th level martial body realm, was already extremely terrifying. When he fought with his life on the line, he was comparable to a martial artist at the 1st level of the martial Tao realm. As for Qin Yun, who had stepped into the martial Tao realm, one could imagine how strong he was. You evil demon, devour my martial spirit to break through. The terrified Xiao Yanglong screamed with a trembling voice. Xiao Yanglong, you have done all sorts of evil. You should be satisfied to be able to live until now. Qin Yun looked at Xiao Yanglong and said coldly. His heavenly lion arm suddenly transformed into a lion's claw. Once the 6th-style Wind Slayer was unleashed, it brought with it a purplish gold, lightning, and fire that enveloped him. Don't kill me, Xiao Yanglong, who was enveloped by the violent purplish gold, lightning fire, screamed loudly. In the end, his body was chopped into pieces and turned into dust by the violent lightning fire. The noisy Western Palace Plaza suddenly quietened down. Then, a burst of shouts erupted. Xiao Yanglong was dead. Crown Prince Tian Xiao, a young martial Tao realm cultivator, the head disciple of the Western Palace, who possessed the Gold Sun martial spirit, was actually killed by Qin Yun, who was not even 20 years old. Lan Huayu also hurriedly closed the array. The development of the situation had already exceeded his expectations. When the Nangong Palace's palace master sensed Qin Yun's terrifying power of the Great Tao, he hurriedly retreated. The palace master of the Northern Palace was the same. The hatred between them and Qin Yun was not as great as that of Palace Head Yang of the Western Palace. Qin Yun had exposed his soul refining technique because he planned to risk his life. Although Qin Yun had just stepped into the martial Tao realm, the power of the two totems was extremely terrifying and unfathomable. If he were to rashly fight Qin Yun, it was extremely likely that he would be severely injured. Lan Huayu finally closed the formation. Only Palace Head Yang of the Western Palace rushed in with a sword in his hand. You and Xiao Yanglong are in cahoots, and you know that he wants to use Teacher Yang as a cultivation furnace. Then go to hell. Qin Yun threw out a few body-securing talismans to immobilize Palace Head Yang. As Palace Master Yang was too angry, he momentarily forgot that Qin Yun had a body-securing talisman. At the moment he was frozen, Qin Yun flew over. Qin Yun's heavenly lion arm suddenly transformed into a lion's claw. It swept out with a wave of purple gold lightning fire that howled and danced, tearing Palace Master Yang into several pieces. Boom! Qin Yun aimed at the fragments on the ground and used his thunder and fire inner force to burn them. Seeing this scene, everyone gulped. They were nervous, excited, and terrified. Qin Yun actually killed a palace master. The way things had developed up to this point was shocking and surprising. Palace Master Yang of the Western Palace was usually high and mighty, an existence that many disciples could only look up to, but now he was killed by Qin Yun in a few moves. After Qin Yun stepped into the martial Dao realm, his strength became even more terrifying. Everyone was alarmed as they looked at Qin Yun with eyes filled with fear. With a whoosh, Qin Yun used the flame cloud steps and flew out of the battling platform. In the blink of an eye, he landed near the Yang family elders. "Ah, save me." Although the tall and skinny old man who injured Yang Shiryu was also in the martial Dao realm, he was extremely afraid of Qin Yun. Qin Yun leaped over like lightning and punched the old man's abdomen. "Ah!" The tall and thin old man screamed. His Dao core was cracked and heavily injured. "Die!" Qin Yun's heavenly lion fighting dragon claw raged with thunder and fire. With a few swipes, he tore a few elders of the Yang family into pieces. Another martial Dao realm cultivator had died. A martial Dao realm cultivator was actually unable to withstand a single blow from Qin Yun. Here, only Zhuochuan and Lan Huayu had the strength to restrain Qin Yun. However, they're all Qin Yun's friends. Furthermore, they hate Palace Master Yang and the few people from the Yang family, so they did not take action. "Teacher, I'm sorry." Qin Yun looked at Yang Shiryu in Lan Fingjin's arms and said with self-blame, "Don't say any more. Hurry up and leave Blue Spirit Star Palace." Yang Shiryu said anxiously in a low voice. She was very happy to see Qin Yun step into the martial Dao realm. Lan Huayu was also beside Qin Yun. He handed Qin Yun a box containing the Blue Spirit Profound Robe, Sun Moon Profound Bowl, Sun Flame Liquid, Star Runes, and Xian Artifact Blueprints. Qin Yun had defeated Xiao Yanglong. This was the reward he had won. There were also a few elders from the Saint Palace here. Their duty was to maintain order. At this moment, they flew over and surrounded Qin Yun. "The Grand Palace Master will be here soon." Qin Yun, surrender. An old man said, "If Palace Master Yang really allows Xiao Yanglong to cultivate demonic arts, then he deserves to die. As for you killing the people from the Yang family, that is only a grudge between the two of you. We don't care. However, you have to accept punishment for using demonic arts to extract your martial spirit. Qin Yun, your strength is indeed terrifying. We do not wish to clash with you. If you truly repent, then stand there obediently and wait for the Grand Palace Master to deal with you." Yang Shiryu shouted softly. Qin Yun, ignore them. Charge out. Wu Xiang and Old Tan also hurriedly came to Qin Yun's side. "Yun, leave this to us. You can leave." Old Tan said in a low voice as he took out his royal spirit cannon. "Brat, if we wait for the Grand Palace Master to arrive, we won't have a chance. That guy is of the spirit realm. He can kill a large number of martial Dao realm cultivators with a single slap. We are just like ants in front of him." Wu Xiang hurriedly advised. The elders of the Sacred Palace also felt a lot of pressure. If Qin Yun's friends were to interfere, a great battle would be inevitable. Xiao Wufeng also stood beside Qin Yun and said in a low voice, "Brother Yun, let's go." The Nangong Palace's palace master suddenly said, "Qin Yun has mastered the soul-devouring art. We must work together to capture him. Otherwise, if the Grand Palace Master blames us, all of us will be responsible. Zhuochuan, Lan Huayu, you are the strongest martial Dao realm cultivators here. Are you going to protect the evil demons? Just because he's your friend? Humph." The Palace Master of the Northern Palace also hurriedly stood up and shouted, "Qin Yun is a devil. If we protect him, the Grand Palace Master will definitely not let him off." Qin Yun looked at his friends who wanted to help him and felt extremely touched. Back then, when he was in the Imperial Palace and had his spirit vein extracted, he was still alone. No one helped him. Now, there were so many people who trusted him and did not view him as an evil demon. "Everyone, thank you very much. To be able to befriend you, I, Qin Yun, will die with no regrets." Qin Yun's eyes were moist as he cupped his fists at Xiao Wufeng and company. Finally, he glanced at Yang Shiryu and nodded at Lan Fengjin, indicating for her to take good care of Yang Shiryu. "Brother Yin, what are you doing?" Xiao Wufeng hurriedly asked. Just as he finished speaking, the ground shook violently as Qin Yun flew straight into the air. Qin Yun used the mysterious star steps to soar into the sky before rushing towards the east side of Blue Spirit Star Palace. Quick chase! The elders of the Saint Palace hurriedly shouted. At the same time, Lan Chen's powerful aura of the spirit martial realm surged over from the Saint Palace. The Grand Palace Master is here. Qin Yun, don't even think about escaping. An old man shouted. Zhuo Chuan, Lan Huayu, and Xiao Wufeng were also flying in the air as they chased after Qin Yun. If Qin Yun was really captured by Lan Chen, they could also plead for mercy on his behalf. When Qin Yun sensed Lan Chen's powerful aura, he was secretly alarmed. He also knew that the elders and palace masters of the Star Palace could use spirit artifacts to send messages to Lan Chen. That was why Lan Chen had arrived so quickly. Qin Yun is flying towards our Eastern Palace, an old woman said. She was the palace master of the Eastern Palace, and she was following behind with Shui Yihui. They did not plan to interfere in this matter. They were just watching from the sidelines. But now, Qin Yun was flying towards their Eastern Palace. Shui Yihui asked in puzzlement, "Why is Qin Yun going to our Eastern Palace?" Qin Yun's speed was extremely fast. Many old martial Dao realm cultivators were unable to catch up to him. Just as everyone was feeling puzzled, they saw a mountain in front of them. That mountain was 1,000 meters tall, and it was the kind of mountain that went straight up. The stones on the entire mountain were silvery white, making it look very strange. When they saw this silvery white mountain peak, the martial Dao realm cultivators who were chasing after them all sucked in a breath of cold air. This mountain was located in the Eastern Palace, and it was also very famous in the Blue Spirit Star Palace. This was because the terrifying inscription gate was in this mountain. Qin Yun, don't enter the inscription gate, Lan Huayu shouted. Once you enter, you'll be finished. Brother Yin, quickly stop. Xiao Wufeng hurriedly shouted as he desperately increased his speed. At this moment, everyone knew that Qin Yun's goal in going to the Eastern Palace was to enter the inscription gate. Lan Chen's aura was also approaching. His speed was extremely fast, and in an instant, he surpassed Lan Huayu and company as he chased after Qin Yun. Grand Palace Master, you must stop him, Lan Huayu shouted anxiously. I will. Lan Chen's voice was heard, causing Xiao Wufeng and Lan Huayu to feel a lot more at ease. Qin Yun sensed Lan Chen's aura approaching. He gritted his teeth and combined the fire cloud steps teleportation, meteor steps, and the mysterious star steps. Like a meteor, he charged towards the silver-white mountain. Soon, Qin Yun arrived at the foot of the mountain and rushed into a cave filled with black gas. Just as he entered, Lan Chen released a powerful force that enveloped the cave. He wanted to pull Qin Yun out, but it was already too late. Lan Chen sighed and patted his bald head in annoyance. Then he stomped his feet fiercely, causing the Eastern Palace to tremble violently. Following that, Lan Huayu, the 3 palace masters, and a group of elders slowly descended in front of the cave. Grand Palace Master, where's Qin Yun? Lan Huayu asked anxiously. He went in. This guy ran with all his might and suddenly increased his speed. Lan Chen let out a long sigh and said, What a pity! What a pity! Master, don't you plan to punish Brother Yin? Xiao Wufeng hurriedly asked. The expressions of the other sacred palace elders and the 3 palace masters also changed slightly. Nangong's palace master hurriedly said, Grand Palace Master, that Qin Yun used the soul-devouring evil art to devour Xiao Yanglong's sun martial spirit and kill Xiao Yanglong and Palace Master Yang. Xiao Yanglong fought a life and death battle with him. It's understandable that he was killed. Qin Yun only extracted his martial spirit in passing. It's no big deal. Lan Chen's words caused all the martial Dao realm cultivators present to be speechless. Extracting a martial spirit was actually not a big deal. They all suspected that they had heard wrongly. All of you are ignorant and ill-informed. Lan Chen looked at Zhuo Chuan and asked, You are the great elder of the divine inscription palace. You should know that this kind of thing is nothing, right? Chapter 334. The road of trial other than Xia Wufeng. The rest of the martial Dao realm cultivators here were all old, but they had never heard of such a thing. Shua Yihui said with a frown, Grand Palace Master then what does this mean? Why haven't we heard of it? Lan Chun sighed. That's because there are too few soul refiners. It's hard to meet one in decades, so naturally, we lost our attention. Qin Yun has mastered the art of soul refining, and he is also an inscription master. If he were to inscribe inscriptions into his martial spirit while refining his soul, he would be able to make his martial spirit even stronger. What a pity he went into that damned place. Everyone looked at the pitch-black cave entrance and felt extreme shock in their hearts. Only now did they know that soul extraction and refining was a lost technique. Furthermore, it could make a person very strong. But Qin Yun killed Palace Master Yang. The Nangong Palace Master continued. This is a great crime. I will investigate this matter thoroughly. There are still a few elders in the Western Palace. I will personally interrogate them and find out what heinous crimes Palace Master Yang has committed over the years. Lan Chun snorted and soared into the sky, flying towards the Western Palace. Xia Wufeng looked at the cave and said, Maybe Brother Yin will be able to come out alive. Dream on. Right now, our Blue Spirit Star Palace only has one Grand Palace Master in the Spirit Martial Realm. Do you know why? Because 2 seniors of the Spirit Martial Realm went in and have yet to come out. The Palace Master of the Northern Palace said with a cold snort, No matter how strong Qin Yun is, can he be stronger than someone at the Spirit Martial Realm? Xia Wufeng's expression changed. He had just found out that a Spirit Martial Realm cultivator had died inside. Now he understood. Why was Lan Chun so sure that Qin Yun would not be able to come out when he saw that Qin Yun had entered so quickly? Let's go back first and take a look at Miss Yang's injuries. Lan Huayu sighed and patted Xia Wufeng's shoulder. Zhuchuan was also very regretful. His relationship with Qin Yun was not bad. As for Qin Yun, he was currently in the martial Dao realm. His inscription talent was very high. In the future, he would definitely be able to head to the martial desolate land and become famous there. But now, Qin Yun had entered the cave. After entering, it meant that he would have to accept the mysterious and terrifying trial of the inscription gate. In the Western Palace Plaza, Lan Chun checked on Yang Shiyu's injuries. He frowned and sighed. The Dao core is severely injured, but it's not difficult to recover. The most difficult part is the recovery of the martial spirit. The purple gold moon martial spirit is severely damaged and has been torn into many pieces. Most of the martial spirit fragments have left the body and need to be restored to its original state. It will take at least a few decades. Grand Palace Master, where's Qin Yun? Morong Darren asked. He entered the inscription gate. Lan Chun lightly sighed and said, Feng Jin, bring her back to rest. I have already stabilized the moon martial spirit. In the future, she will need to slowly recover by herself. When Yang Shiyu learned that Qin Yun had entered the inscription gate, she was stunned for a moment before feeling extremely pained. She had stayed in the Eastern Palace before and knew how terrifying the inscription gate was. Murong Darren, Huazhong, Lan Fengjin, and Shuezai were also well aware of how terrifying the inscription gate was. When they learned that Qin Yun had entered, they felt that Qin Yun had left them forever. Qin Yun's friend immediately fell into grief. Lan Chun looked at the few elders of the Western Palace and said coldly, All of you, follow me to the Heaven Punisher Tower. When the elders heard this, their bodies swayed. They were extremely terrified, but they could only follow. The people in the Western Palace Plaza also dispersed. On the way back, they discussed this matter nonstop. In front of the cave entrance of the inscription gate, the triplets were all standing there. They had followed Qin Yun and had always hoped that Qin Yun would enter the Eastern Palace. However, they never expected that he would enter their Eastern Palace in such a manner. Shuezai, Murongdaran, and Huozhong were also there, looking at the pitch-black cave. Brother Yin is different. Maybe he can come out? Huozhong said. Maybe. Murong Darren said. This situation is not bad. It's better than us knowing of his death. At least it gives us a glimmer of hope. There are many seniors who have entered the inscription gate, and there are quite a few in the martial Dao realm. After decades and centuries, no one has ever been able to come out. The Yao said, Your Eastern Palace's inscription gate is really sick. Why did you create this trial? It caused the deaths of so many Star Palace disciples and also caused the decline of Blue Spirit Star Palace. Murong Darren could not help but curse. Hua Zhong said, Second Brother Murong, let's go back. Brother Yin has already stepped into the martial Dao realm. We need to quickly become stronger. Qin Yun had just entered the cave of the inscription gate when he fell into a killing array. As for this killing array, it was a combination of the Ice Abyss Bone Piercing Formation and the Flaming Soul Splitting Formation. Ice and Fire Killing Formation. Ah! Qin Yun lay on the array and shouted softly. Thankfully, he had awakened his heavenly lion bloodline and was not afraid of the power of ice and fire. However, the power of the soul splitting formation was attacking his soul, causing him pain. This killing formation was different from the one he had used in the previous competition. The killing formations used in the competition could be used at any time. As for the killing formation of the inscription gate, once one entered, they would be trapped inside. They would need to break the formation themselves. No wonder so many people can't get out. The vast majority of people will die here the moment they enter. Qin Yun thought to himself. His surroundings were pitch black. He could not see or sense anything else. What he needed to do now was to break the formation. M.O. Do you know how to break the formation? Qin Yun asked anxiously. If he were to break the formation himself, it would definitely take a lot of time. I'll release my mental energy to take a look. M.O. could not come out either. Otherwise, if the weaker her was attacked by the killing array, her life would be in danger. M.O.'s mental energy was very strange. It was similar to her primordial spirit. It turned into a white thread that extended out from the first bead of the 9 Yang divine spirit. Qin Yun looked at the wisp of mental energy. While he was alarmed, he also recalled the matter of the second bead of the 9 Yang divine spirit. Previously, he had been unable to open the second bead because he was not strong enough. Now that he had stepped into the martial Dao realm, he should be able to open the second bead. What will the second bead be? Currently, Qin Yun's soul was being attacked by the killing array. His mind was greatly affected, and he could not immediately attempt to open the second bead. M.O. was using her mental energy to probe the killing array. After a moment, she said with some guilt, Brother Yun, I can't find anything. If I can get out, I should be able to investigate even more carefully. How about, let me go out and give it a try. No, it will be very dangerous for you to come out. Qin Yun also had the bloodline of the Heavenly Lion. That was why he was not afraid of the ice and fire powers in the killing array. However, his mental energy was being ravaged. I'll just endure it. Although M.O. was delicate, she was not afraid at all. She was also trying to help Qin Yun. Qin Yun suddenly thought of the blue spirit profound robe. He took it out and tried it on his body. He realized that it could withstand the mental attack of the killing array. He hurriedly dripped blood to make the blue spirit profound robe recognize him as its master. This way, he would be able to unleash an even stronger defensive power. Not long after, Qin Yun, who was wearing the blue spirit profound robe, revealed a smile. That was because the pain in his head had disappeared. He released M.O. and stuffed her under the clothes. This way, it would be more convenient for her to investigate the situation of the killing array. As for Qin Yun, he condensed his mental energy to open the second bead of the 9 Yang divine spirit. In the past, his mental energy had always been blocked outside the second bead. Now, he could finally take a step forward. Through his mental energy, he could see that there was a formation in the second bead. Damn it, it's blocked. I have to break this formation. Qin Yun cursed in a low voice when he saw the formation that blocked his mental energy from advancing. He carefully looked at the formation and realized that it was not too difficult to break through. It just needed some time. Right now, he was in a killing array. He could not calm down to break through the formation, so he could only wait until he was safe. When Qin thought about how he would be able to open the second bead, he was secretly excited. He was filled with incomparable anticipation and wished that he could open it. Mo suddenly said, "All right, I've temporarily paralyzed the more critical spirit inscriptions of the killing array." Qin could also sense that the power released by the killing array was gradually weakening. He kept Mo into the first bead. He took out a night illumination pearl and illuminated the area in front of him as he walked out of the killing array. He was in a square passageway in the cave. It was 4 to 5 meters wide and tall, and the walls were engraved with many strange runes. This is really a damned place. Qin saw that the passageway was filled with all sorts of strange runes. He was secretly alarmed. They were all extremely complicated formations. What made him feel strange was that there should be many corpses on the ground, but it was now completely clean, as if someone had cleaned it up. When he thought of this, Qin could not help but shiver. He also became especially careful. Soon, he discovered that there was a formation in front of him. He did not know what kind of formation it was. He did not need to know what kind of formation it was because releasing Mo would quickly cause the formation's inscriptions to fail and temporarily cause the formation to fail. After entering, the passageway of the cave became curved and led upwards. They circled around. Along the way, there were many different kinds of formations that were destroyed by Mo one by one. Qin still had a few dragon beast crystal eggs. One was enough for Mo to replenish her energy. After walking for more than half a day, he finally arrived at a path without any formations. Mo, you go in first. I'm worried that there's a trap up ahead. Qin kept Mo into his storage space and carefully walked in front. The 4 walls here were very clean, and there were no runes at all. It was precisely because of this that Qin was worried that there was a trap. Qin released the Spirit Lion King and let the puppet lion walk in front. If there really was a trap, it would just be the lion being attacked. This path, without any inscriptions, was also very long. Although Qin was inside the passageway, he knew that he was halfway up the mountain. The passageway spiraled upwards. He walked very slowly and stopped from time to time. A day had passed, and there were no traps. It was actually very safe along the way. What Qin did not know was that the trial path with the inscriptions was extremely terrifying. Chapter 335. 335 Chapter 335 Bone Transformation started turrets. After Qin walked the safe path, he was blocked by a golden screen of light. He looked at the one next to him. On it were the words Path of Bone Transformation written neatly. Bone Transformation? Qin looked at the screen of light in front of him and secretly sucked in a breath of cold air. It was obvious that after passing through the golden screen of light, one would be on the path of bone transformation. In a martial body realm, the Vajra bone was the most important, and this path of bone transformation was clearly targeted at the Vajra bone. Qin did not dare to enter because he did not know how terrifying the path behind the golden screen of light was. I have to investigate it clearly. He couldn't go in, nor could his mental force enter. He didn't know how to investigate. After some thought, he took out a few beads and inscribed spirit marks on them. He wanted to refine a few eyeballs. After the beads were refined, he took out the beast tendons of spirit beasts. After tempering them, he made them very thin and connected them to a bead. He threw the bead into the light screen. He could connect his mental force with the bead through the beast tendons that were connected to it. This way, he could see the situation inside through the bead. The bead entered the golden light and floated in the air. Through the bead, he could see that there was a lot of light golden water behind the light screen. It could allow the light bead to float. Behind the golden screen of light, there was actually a lot of water. In other words, it was a water passageway. Following that, he threw in another spirit beast's thigh. As soon as the spirit beast's thigh entered, the bones inside gradually melted, but the flesh was fine. What a strange liquid. It only melted the bones. Qin Yun secretly sucked in a breath of cold air. The bones of spirit beasts were so strong, but they were all melted. The path of bone transformation was too terrifying. If he was not prepared, the Vajra bone in his body would definitely melt. When he thought of this, he shuddered. He frowned as he sat on the ground, thinking of a solution. Qin Yun thought of several methods, but he felt that they were unreliable. For example, he could refine a powerful outer shell to wrap him up, or he could refine protective clothes to resist the liquid. Right, the water-repelling spirit mark. He suddenly remembered that when he entered the beast oil pool, the water-repellent talisman also played a big role. It allowed him to dive into the depths of the beast oil pool without touching it. Qin Yun threw a water-repelling bone talisman at the golden light barrier. After the water-repelling bone talisman entered, no liquid entered the space within 2 to 3 meters of the bone talisman. It's useful. Qin Yun was secretly delighted. Then, he began to refine waterproof equipment. Of course, he wasn't just refining talismans now. He wanted to refine a set of spirit beast skin clothes and engrave many sets of water-repelling spirit inscriptions on it. All right, in order to be absolutely safe, let's refine it to the level of a supreme-grade spiritual weapon. Qin Yun took out beast skins and many other materials and began forging in the passageway. It took him a whole day to finally refine a set of clothes. It was a set of supreme-grade spiritual artifact clothes with multiple sets of water-repelling spiritual tattoos carved on it. I hope it works. He took a deep breath, activated the water-repellent spirit pattern on his clothes, and rushed into the golden light curtain. As soon as he entered, the liquid around him automatically retreated. With the inner strength of my 3 Dao cores, I can support this set of water-repellent equipment for a few days. I don't believe that I can't finish this path of bone transformation in a few days. Qin Yun quickly swam on the path of bone transformation as he continued to climb upwards. As long as he reached the peak, he would be able to pass the trial of the inscription gate and become a disciple of the inscription gate. The inscription gate did not have any inner disciples, so whoever could pass the trial would be the sect leader. What chief disciple? I don't care. I want to be the sect leader of the inscription gate. That's cool enough. Qin Yun felt that he was not far from the position of sect leader. He secretly looked forward to it. This waterway was also quite long. He swam for 3 days before passing through. On the way, he did not find any corpses. He could not help but suspect that the corpses had been absorbed as energy. Qin Yun came out of the golden light barrier and ended the trial of the path of bone transformation. He arrived at a pitch-black passageway. This kind of darkness could not be illuminated. Qin Yun took out the night illumination pearl. Only the night illumination pearl emitted light. When the light hit the walls, it was all devoured. At the same time that he was alarmed, he carefully observed the pitch-black walls around him. He could see some weak spots of light. It's not an inscription. Qin Yun could not see the inscriptions, and he did not sense any power attacking him. He let Mo come out and also sensed the inscriptions. Mo carefully probed, but did not sense any fluctuations from the inscriptions. I should be at a relatively high place now. I'm almost at the top of the mountain. Qin Yun guessed that this incomparably dark passageway was the final stage of the trial. After resting for a moment, he mustered up his courage and walked forward. After walking for a short while, he was surprised to discover that those weak dots of light were actually stars. The further he went, the brighter the stars were, and the more there were. Not long after, he felt that everything he saw was very familiar. This reminded him of the great formation on the soul-guiding star peak. Back then, when he was immersed in that great formation, he had deeply felt the terror of the vast sea of stars. In the vast sea of stars, there were countless incomparably huge stars, causing one to feel oppressed and terrified. It would make one feel that in the incomparably vast sea of stars, one would appear insignificant and powerless. As Qin Yun walked through the passageway, An inexplicable fear rose in his heart. He could not help but sweat profusely. Steady heart. He hurriedly recited the incantation of the star refinement art. It could stabilize his mind and prevent him from getting lost in the vast sea of stars. He kept chanting the incantation, and his fearful heart was gradually comforted and calmed down. As Qin Yun walked, he understood why no one had been able to pass the trial for so many years and why they were unable to leave. First was the first stage. There were many terrifying killing formations that required one to be extremely proficient in inscription formations in order to break through them one by one. The second stage was the path of bone transformation. If one did not make thorough preparations and did not investigate carefully, even if one was at the spirit realm, their bones would still be melted away. The third stage required one's mental state to reach a certain level. Qin Yun guessed that only those who cultivated the Star Yang Heart Sutra would be able to overcome their fear and walk through the third stage of the Star Intimidating Road. It was also because he was able to comprehend the Star Refinement Art. Otherwise, he would not have been able to successfully pass through this path. A few days had passed, and Qin Yun was still walking on the Star Intimidating Road. His speed had also increased by a lot. This road is really long. Qin Yun looked at Mo in his storage space and asked, Mo, how many days have passed since I entered this star path? 5 days, what's wrong? Haven't you walked out yet? Mo asked. Qin Yun thought that it was an illusion, but he never expected that 5 days had really passed. Yes, it's a good thing that I don't need to consume anything on this path. According to his estimations, he should have reached the top of the mountain by now. There was no danger on the Star Intimidating Road, and his speed was very fast. He should have arrived long ago. Helpless, he could only continue walking. A few more days passed, and Qin Yun was still on the Star Intimidating Road. He was alarmed because he did not know if he could reach the end. In the past few days, he had been running forward and had only rested for 2 to 4 hours a day. Not to mention a mountain. Even if there were dozens of them, he would still be able to climb over them. But now he was still in this passage filled with stars. A few more days passed. Qin Yun sat on the ground. After resting, he got up and continued running. He also understood why Lan Shun, a warrior at the spirit martial realm, did not chase after him. Even if it was someone at the spirit martial realm, they might not be able to leave alive. The killing array passageway can't stop me. The path of bone transformation didn't melt me, and the path of star intimidation didn't scare me to death. Instead, it bore me to death. Qin Yun ran madly on the Star Intimidating Road. He was about to go crazy. After running for more than 10 days, he still hadn't reached the end. He suspected that this Star Intimidating Road had a very profound spatial rune that extended this road for a very, very long time. Time passed by quickly. In the blink of an eye, Qin Yun had already been running on the Star Intimidating Road for half a year. He was about to cry. Suddenly, he saw a bronze door in front of him. He was so excited that he cried. Ha ha ha! I've finally reached the end. Qin Yun could not suppress the joy in his heart as he laughed out loud. Although he was very happy, he did not let down his guard. He cautiously approached the door. Spirit Lion King, I'm sorry. I can only trouble you again. Qin Yun released the lion puppet and allowed it to touch the bronze door. He had to be careful. It had been so difficult for him to get here. He could not die on this last stretch of the road. The Spirit Lion King touched the bronze door a few times, but it only produced a sound. There was no other reaction. Originally, he had planned to let the Spirit Lion King open the door, but he was unable to do so. He could only go over himself. Qin Yun kept the Spirit Lion King and checked the light inscription equipment, water-repellent equipment, and blue spirit profound robe he was wearing. He had 3 layers of equipment to protect himself, so he looked fat and comical. After confirming that there were no problems, he walked over and placed his hands on the door. Then, he used a little force and slowly pushed open the bronze door. The door opened bit by bit, and a burst of white light seeped out from the crack, illuminating the black Star Intimidating Road. After the bronze door opened, Qin Yun walked in and arrived at a hall. It was a very simple circular hall. It was not very big and was about 20 meters wide. There was a plaque hanging on it with the words Inscription Gate written on it. Is this the front hall of the Inscription Gate? It's too shabby. Chinyan curled his lips. In the circular hall, there were more than 20 chairs against the wall. The chair at the front was relatively large and should be the seat of the sect leader. Along the way, Chinyan had seen all sorts of terrifying traps in the Inscription Gate. Therefore, he was still very cautious when entering this place. He carefully examined it before taking a step forward and walking towards the large chair in front of him. Have I passed the trial? Chinyan carefully sat on the chair. His heart was thumping as he looked around. He realized that there was only this hall in the Inscription Gate. There were no secret rooms or anything. Suddenly, a round stone table slowly rose in the middle of the hall. There was a box on the stone table. When Chinyan saw these things, he was secretly excited. He walked over and opened the box. Inside the box was a white jade pendant in the shape of a whirlpool. It looked like a whirlpool of stars. Other than the jade pendant, there were also 2 thin bee skin books. Chapter 336. 336 Chapter 336 Violet Spirit, Star Palace. Chinyan had originally thought that there would be spirit inscriptions and Xian inscriptions in the Inscription Gate. He never expected that they would be even more special star and moon inscriptions. He quickly picked up the 2 booklets and flipped through them. He discovered that the inscriptions inside were very complicated. Every page was densely packed and messy. There was no pattern at all. These things can't be mastered in a short period of time. It's too difficult. Chinyan felt a headache coming on. When he flipped to the end, he saw a piece of hard paper at the end of the page. There was a line of words written on it. Those who are unable to pass the 3rd trial are not allowed to learn the star and moon inscriptions. Chinyan did not know why. The Inscription Gate was much more mysterious than he had imagined. There were very powerful star and moon inscriptions, but they were not passed down to the disciples of Blue Spirit Star Palace. Furthermore, they had set up an extremely terrifying 3 trials, causing the deaths of many geniuses. I wonder what other secrets this Inscription Gate is hiding. Chinyan looked at the white jade pendant and permeated his mental energy into it. A strange feeling surged. He dripped his blood onto the jade pendant, and the feeling became even clearer. Immediately, a lot of information surged into his mind. Very quickly, he gained a lot of understanding of the Inscription Gate. So that's how it is. The star and moon inscriptions of the Inscription Gate are both taboo inscriptions. If you don't have the necessary conditions to learn them, you will suffer a backlash from the inscriptions and die. These forbidden inscriptions would also attract a certain amount of tribulation. Without sufficient strength, rashly using these forbidden inscriptions would put one's life in danger. Chinyan only knew this. After he dripped his blood on the jade pendant, he could also control the hidden door of the hall. He held the jade pendant tightly and opened the door. He walked out and stood at the entrance of a cave at the top of the mountain. It's been more than half a year. I'm finally out. Chinyan had entered the cave because he had nowhere else to go. Now, he had passed the trial and become the only disciple of the Inscription Gate. He could be considered the sect leader. He stood at the top of the mountain and looked down at the entire Blue Spirit Star Palace. He was also anxious to find Yang Shiryu and see how her injuries were. There seems to be someone down there. Chinyan looked at the cave entrance at the foot of the mountain. Standing there were 3 purple-robed people. He could not help but frown. The disciples of Blue Spirit Star Palace are all wearing blue robes. Now, they're suddenly wearing purple robes. What the hell is this? Chinyan landed from the sky and saw 3 youths who looked exactly the same. They were the triplets, Triple Radiance. Deo was the first to see Chinyan. Chinyan was wearing the Blue Spirit Profound robe and a black robe on the outside. His hair was disheveled, and he looked a little down and out. However, his eyes were bright and filled with confidence. My lord, Diao shouted in astonishment. The triplets had the same look of surprise on their faces, which made them look a little funny. Chinyan said with a smile, "Have you been waiting for me? By the way, why are you wearing purple clothes?" The color of Blue Spirit Star Palace's clothes has changed? My lord, it's really you. You have succeeded. You are the sect leader of the inscription gate. Diao was incomparably excited as he shouted loudly. Hee hee. Qin Yun laughed. Quickly answer me. What's going on with your purple robes? At the mention of this matter, Diao let out a long sigh. Our Blue Spirit Star Palace is finished. There will be no more Blue Spirit Star Palace in the future. What's going on? Qin Yun frowned and hurriedly asked. Dayo made a long story short and told Qin Yun everything that had happened in the past 6 months. It turned out that a sect called Violet Spirit Star Palace had descended from the martial desolate land. This sect had a deep relationship with the Blue Spirit Star Palace. The Violet Spirit Star Palace only accepted female disciples, but they were very powerful. There were 5 or 6 martial artists in the entire sect who were at the spirit realm. The head of the Violet Spirit Palace had issued a bet to Lan Shun. If she lost, the Violet Spirit Star Palace would merge with the Blue Spirit Star Palace. If she won, then the Blue Spirit Star Palace would be merged into the Violet Spirit Star Palace. In the end, Lan Shun lost, so the Blue Spirit Star Palace was annexed. When Qin Yun heard this, he did not know whether to laugh or cry. He asked, what about Lan Shun, Grand Palace Master? He said he wanted to explore the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range and left with Xie Wufeng. Diao said unhappily. The martial Dao realm cultivators of Blue Spirit Star Palace are all unconvinced by the Violet Spirit Star Palace, so they went their separate ways. This damn Baldy, he lost the entire Blue Spirit Star Palace and just patted his butt and scrammed. He really has guts. Qin Yun could not help but curse. Originally, when he became the sect leader of the Inscription Gate, his position in the Blue Spirit Star Palace would definitely be second. Other than Lan Shun, he was the most awesome. But now, Lan Shun had lost the entire Blue Spirit Star Palace. This made him extremely angry. Diao, are the people from the Violet Spirit Star Palace easy to talk to? Qin Yun asked hurriedly. They are all women, and they are stronger than our Blue Spirit Star Palace, so they look down on us. Diao said helplessly. I heard that the Violet Spirit Star Palace suddenly descended because of the immortal graveyard. That's right. Lady Lan Fengjin is tied up in front of the entrance of Blue Spirit Star Palace. Yao suddenly said. Qin Yun was taken aback and immediately said angrily, why are you treating Sister Lan like this? Let's go to the gate. Lan Fengjin was his disciple, yet she was tied up at the entrance. On the way to the gate, Qin Yun also learned that Lan Huayu had also left the Blue Spirit Star Palace. Many of the disciples of Blue Spirit Star Palace had been arranged to go out and fight magical beasts. They were no longer as free as before, so they had all secretly left. There weren't many disciples left in the Blue Spirit Star Palace. The reason why Lan Fengjin was tied up was because she refused to take the people of the Violet Spirit Star Palace as her master. Her innate talent in inscriptions and martial arts were not bad. She was also a woman, so she naturally attached great importance to her. Qin Yun also learned that Yang Shiyu and Xiao Yuelan had been taken away by the Violet Spirit Palace's palace master. Most of the female disciples of Blue Spirit Star Palace had gone to the Violet Spirit Star Palace. Only the male disciples remained here, waiting for orders. In front of the main entrance of Blue Spirit Star Palace, Lan Fengjin, who was dressed in black, was tied to a pillar by shimmering chains. Her hair was a mess, her face was haggard and colorless, and her eyes were bloodshot. In front of Lan Fengjin stood a few middle-aged women in purple robes. Outside the gate, there were also many disciples of the Star Palace watching. The original disciples of Blue Spirit Star Palace all looked at the tied-up Lan Fengjin with heartache. One of the women with a sharp chin pinched Lan Fengjin's face and said coldly, Lan Fengjin, you refused a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Our Violet Spirit Star Palace's Granny Z wants to accept you as her disciple, but you refuse. Even we can't be envious of such an opportunity. Can't you just honestly agree? I have a master. Lan Fengjin snorted coldly. That Granny Z used such a lowly method to force me to acknowledge her as my master. it can be seen that she isn't much. Even your grandfather, Lan Huayu, has to admit defeat in front of our Granny Z1. What does your master count for? The middle-aged woman with a sharp chin said angrily. Granny Z1 is not someone you can slander as you please. Having said that, she slapped Lan Fengjin hard on her dark face. Bah! Lan Fengjin was infuriated. In front of my master, you are all bullshit. Isn't your master very powerful? Let him come out. Even if I beat you to death, he won't appear. The middle-aged woman raised her palm again and slapped Lan Fengjin. Just as the slap was about to land, a gust of wind suddenly blew over. A tall and sturdy black-robed youth appeared beside Lan Fengjin. Pow! A slap was heard. The one who was slapped was not Lan Fengjin, but the middle-aged woman. The middle-aged woman who wanted to hit Lan Fengjin was sent flying with a slap. It was unknown where she flew to, but in short, she flew very far away. Those disciples immediately cried out in alarm. One had to know that the middle-aged woman was at the martial Dao realm. Yet, she was sent flying with a single slap. As for the black-robed youth who suddenly appeared, although his hair was messy, he was extremely handsome. His angular face was confident and resolute, filled with charm. When the disciples saw this face, they all cried out in surprise. It's Qin Yun. He entered the inscription gate and actually came out alive. He is the sect leader of the inscription gate. The Grand Palace Master left too early. Otherwise, he would definitely be very happy. Right? Didn't Qin Yun master the soul-devouring evil art? That's not some evil art. Qin Yun is the pride of our Blue Spirit Star Palace. Hearing the discussions of the crowd, the purple-clothed women standing beside Lan Fengjin hurriedly retreated. I am Lan Fengjin's master. Who tied her up here? If she doesn't kneel down and apologize, I will tear down the Violet Spirit Star Palace. Qin Yun's voice was very calm, but it contained a powerful and angry killing intent. The few purple-clothed women were also in the martial Dao realm, but they did not dare to act rashly. Qin Yun's heavenly lion arm flashed with purple lightning as it hacked at the chain on the pillar, instantly breaking it. The weak Lan Fengjin fell into Qin Yun's arms. Master! Lan Fengjin could not help but cry softly, excited and happy. Lan Fengjin had already taken Qin Yun as her master. However, the disciples of Blue Spirit Star Palace did not feel that there was anything wrong with it. This was because Qin Yun's inscription talent was indeed terrifying. Furthermore, he was currently the sect leader of the inscription gate. Qin Yun, you devil who has mastered the soul-devouring evil art. A middle-aged woman gritted her teeth and said. Qin Yun said with a sneer, soul-devouring evil art? Perhaps even your palace master would wish for nothing more than to learn this evil art. He channeled the power of the tree totem to Lan Fengjin, allowing her to recover a lot. He asked, Sister Lan, who tied you up? It's them. Lan Fengjin said angrily. They were originally responsible for persuading me to take that granny as my master. I refused, so they used this despicable method. Qin Yun narrowed his eyes and looked at the middle-aged women. He said coldly, do you want to kneel down and admit your wrongs to Sister Lan, or do you want me to force you to kneel? Make your own choice. Chapter 337 337 Chapter 337 Dragon Fist Sect. These middle-aged women were originally from the Blue Spirit West Palace, Nangong and Beigong. There were also two from the Tian Shao Empire who had monitored Xiao Yuelon. Now, they had all joined the Violet Spirit Star Palace. They were martial Dao realm cultivators. Even in the Violet Spirit Star Palace, their status was very high. As for Qin Yun, he wanted them to kneel down and admit their wrongs. How could they agree? The middle-aged woman who had been sent flying was also supported over. Half of her face had been beaten black, and she was dizzy. She was in a semi-conscious state. Qin Yun, aren't you being too arrogant? Don't think that just because you have two martial spirits, you can be so presumptuous. We are not as weak as those trash from your Blue Spirit Star Palace. I'll count to two. If you don't kneel down and admit your wrongs to Sister Lon, I'll make my move. Qin Yun said coldly. 1, 2. After he finished counting, a black gas suddenly surged out from his body and enveloped the middle-aged women. Following that, the earth began to shake. Qin Yun's eyes turned pitch black. He had used the power of the vibration martial spirit. Those evil women were also at the first level of the martial Tao. They were enveloped by this vibrating force, and their bodies were constantly being pressed by the explosive force. Immediately, they spat out mouthfuls of blood. Kneel! Qin Yun roared angrily as the ground shook. The arrogant women all screamed as they knelt on the ground, crushing the stone tiles on the ground. When the disciples saw this scene, they could not help but be terrified. A few powerful seniors were actually forced to their knees and vomit blood by the internal energy released by Qin Yun. Scram! Qin Yun waved his hand and slapped them, sending them flying far away. Following that, he carried Lan Fengjin and flew towards the Eastern Palace's mysterious Silver Mountain. He entered a cave at the top of the mountain. Lan Fengjin sat on a chair and looked at the hall. She said excitedly, "Master, you really passed the trial of the inscription gate. I really didn't expect it. Unfortunately, Grandfather is already headed to the Cloud Dragon Mountain range and might even go to the Martial Desolate." Qin Yun smiled. "Sister Lan, you will be my disciple from now on and also a disciple of the inscription gate. Don't worry about that Violet Spirit Star Palace. The Violet Spirit Star Palace is actually not bad. There were a few wicked women who were jealous of me. That's why they treated me like that." Lan Fengjin coldly snorted. "In short, I have you as my master. I will not acknowledge anyone else as my master. Yuelon, Ziyi, and Teacher, are they all in the Violet Spirit Star Palace?" Qin Yun asked worriedly. Lan Fengjin nodded. "Yes, Shiyue's injuries are very serious. The injuries of the Purple Gold Moon Martial Spirit are very serious. The people from the Violet Spirit Star Palace can cure her, but there is a price, and that is to stay in the Violet Spirit Star Palace. Yuelon and Zai are both outstanding female disciples. They were taken away a long time ago. I heard that they were personally taught by the Violet Spirit Palace Master." Qin Yun paced back and forth in the hall. Did the Grand Palace Master really go to the Cloud Dragon Mountain range? He went with Grandfather. They said that they were going to investigate the Immortal Graveyard. If they don't come back, they might have gone to the Martial Desolate Land. Lan Fengjin said. Suddenly, a series of shouts came from outside. Qin Yun listened carefully. It was Shui Yihui's voice. He hurriedly walked out and landed on the ground. Shui Yihui, the Palace Master of the Eastern Palace, and a dozen or so Martial Dao Realm Elders were all there. They looked at Qin Yun in astonishment. Qin Yun, you have become the sect master of the Inscription Gate?" Shui Yihui took a deep breath and asked in surprise. Qin Yun took out a jade pendant and said, "I've obtained this. I wonder if it's a keepsake for the sect master?" When they saw the jade pendant, Shui Yihui and company took a few deep breaths. "Greetings, sect master." Shui Yihui hurriedly bowed and shouted respectfully. The other elders of the Martial Dao realm also bowed to Qin Yun. The sect master of the Inscription Gate actually had such a status. Even Qin Yun himself was somewhat surprised. "Everyone, there's no need to be polite. What's the situation with the Blue Spirit Star Palace now?" Qin Yun said with a frown. "Grand Palace Master, how long have you been at the Cloud Dragon Mountain range?" The Blue Spirit Star Palace has already been merged into the Violet Spirit Star Palace. They sent people to manage it, and the Eastern Palace is still managed by Palace Master Ling. Shui Yihui looked at the old lady beside him. Palace Head Ling was also a woman, so she was directly accepted as a disciple by the Violet Spirit Star Palace. In the Violet Spirit Star Palace, she was also an elder. Then, am I, the sect leader of the Inscription Sect, considered to be from the Violet Spirit Star Palace? Qin Yun asked. Forget it. However, there should be other preferential treatment. The Violet Spirit Star Palace also knows the importance of the Inscription Gate. Palace Master Ling said, "Sect Master Qin, The Violet Spirit Palace Master has sent a letter for you. Palace Lord Ling handed Qin Yun a letter. Qin Yun opened it and read the contents. It was a letter from the Violet Spirit Palace Master. First, he sincerely apologized to Lan Fengjin. Then, he invited him to the Violet Spirit Star Palace to discuss some matters and asked him to bring Lan Fengjin there. Have you seen Palace Master Violet Spirit before? How is his character? Asked Qin Yun. You're quite polite. When she was in the martial desolate land, she was also a good person. Lan Fengjin's matter this time was all because of those evil women who acted on their own. They will also be severely punished. Palace Head Ling said, if you want to go to the Violet Spirit Star Palace, I can take you there. Those evil women were originally the more snobbish ones in the Blue Spirit Star Palace. If they found an opportunity to attack Lan Fengjin, they would naturally not be lenient. Qin Yun also wanted to meet Xiao Yuelon. He nodded and said, all right, I'll go with Sister Lan. He flew up and brought Lan Fengjin down. After resting, Lan Fengjin's complexion had improved a lot. She had also changed into a beautiful purple dress. Qin Yun, Lan Fengjin, and Palace Head Ling sat in a carriage as they headed for the Violet Spirit Star Palace. The Violet Spirit Star Palace was only a few hundred miles away from the Blue Spirit Star Palace. They would be able to reach it very quickly. Qin Yun was in the carriage. He opened the window and saw the Violet Spirit Star Palace below. It looked to be about the same size as the Blue Spirit Star Palace, but it was completely purple. The magnificent building inside was made of sparkling purple crystals. It was very dazzling. Palace Head Ling's status was still relatively high. She was able to directly fly her carriage into the Violet Spirit Star Palace and land in a noisy plaza. In this plaza, there were many people surrounding the battling platform. On the battling platform, an extremely intense battle was taking place. When Qin Yun and company got off the carriage, they saw a woman dressed in purple on the battling platform. She was sparring with a man dressed in gold. These two people were both martial artists at the 9th level martial body realm. Palace Head Ling, what's going on? Who are the disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace competing with? Qin Yun asked. The disciples of the Dragon Fist sect. Palace Head Ling said, the Violet Spirit Star Palace, the Dragon Fist sect, the Wind Spirit sect, and the Floating Spirit Valley. These 4 sects have descended on this border area together. These 4 sects are all spirit-level sects. They are all subordinate forces of a Xian-level sect. They were sent here to investigate the situation in the Immortal Graveyard. Now, they are letting their disciples compete in martial arts to fight for leadership. Although these sects are all subordinate forces of a mystic sect, they often engage in all kinds of battles. Qin Yun did not find it strange. The family clans and factions in an empire also had intense struggles. He was only surprised that 4 powerful sects had suddenly descended here. It could be seen that the martial desolate land placed great importance on the Immortal Graveyard. As for the Immortal Graveyard, there was a great secret hidden within. It had a lot to do with Xie Qiru. The purple-clothed woman on the martial stage suddenly screamed as she was sent flying and crashed into the array pillar of the martial stage. Ha ha ha! Little girl, I won't kill you just like that. I have to play with you first. The burly man from the Dragon Fist sect laughed sinisterly as he walked towards the purple-clothed woman. The purple-clothed woman's face was deathly pale, and her face was filled with terror and despair. She closed her eyes, and her face was covered in tears. Qin Yun frowned and said, is this a life and death battle? Palace Head Ling sighed. In the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, whoever survives on the battling platform will be the victor. During this period of time, the Great Formation will not be closed, so we can only allow the people inside to do whatever they want. This kind of competition has always been like this. It's extremely cruel. Lan Fengjin frowned and said, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it before. I never thought that in order to fight for the leadership of the sect, a disciple would be sacrificed. This is too cruel. With a ripping sound, the clothes on the purple-clothed woman were torn apart by the wretched man, leaving only her undergarment. Could it be that this guy is going to rape that woman on the spot? Qin Yun said with a frown. His voice was filled with anger. It should be, but no one can stop him. Palace Headling's face was also filled with anger. The disciples watching the battle were all from the 4 sections. Other than the female disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace, the male disciples of the other sects all had faces full of anticipation. They cheered excitedly and urged the wretched man to hurry up and make his move. Qin Yun was infuriated. He immediately soared into the air and flew over. Bastard, quickly stop! Qin Yun floated in the air above the battling platform and roared. A few Martial Dao Realm elders who were supervising the competition also suddenly flew over. Who are you? Do you want to cause trouble? A golden-robed elder asked angrily. The golden clothes on his body were the same as the wretched man on the battling platform. You should be a martial artist of the Dragon Fist sect. Qin Yun said angrily. Did you not see what that beast is doing? Below, many of the female disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace saw a handsome and valiant youth suddenly step forward. At the same time, they were surprised. They were also filled with reverence. They had never known what a hero was, but when they saw Qin Yun, they seemed to understand what a hero looked like. This is a martial arts competition, a life and death battle. When the old man sensed Qin Yun's aura, he was somewhat alarmed. However, when he saw how young Qin Yun was, he did not think much of it. Don't insult the martial arts competition. I've never heard of anyone doing such a thing to a beast during a martial arts competition. Qin Yun's eyes were filled with anger and killing intent as he said in a deep voice. When the woman on the battling platform saw that someone was standing up for her, she was extremely touched. However, she was still in despair because only by breaking the array formation on the battling platform would she be able to save her. The wretched man on the battling platform laughed sinisterly and said, "That bastard up there, you've never seen anyone do such a happy thing on the battling platform, right? Then I'll do it for you right now, huh? If you want to save this slut, you have to break the formation first. This kind of formation would not close until it consumed all the energy it had put in. Even the spirit martial realm can't easily close it. Ha ha! Just open your eyes wide and watch how happy I am. Damn bitch, why are you crying? In any case, you'll be killed by me sooner or later, so you might as well be killed by me." Chapter 338. 338 Chapter 338 Z Qin Yin clenched his fists tightly as he looked at the burly man below. His heart was infuriated to the extreme. The female disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace could not help but close their eyes when they saw their fellow disciples being beaten up. Furthermore, they were about to be brutally humiliated. Uncle, quickly leave. The people from the Dragon Fist sect are very vicious. They will take revenge on you. When the woman on the battling platform saw Qin Yun's furious expression, she was worried that Qin Yun would act impulsively and attack here. She hurriedly tried to persuade him. The group of women below also tried to persuade Qin Yun to leave quickly so that he wouldn't be hated by the people from the Dragon Fist sect. Uncle, I accept my fate. I am satisfied that you can stand up for me. The woman shouted again when she saw that Qin Yun was indifferent. Her skirt was torn, revealing a pair of bruised thighs. The woman gritted her teeth and cried. As for the wretched middle-aged man, he grimaced and grinned sinisterly. He was incomparably ugly. The incense stick at the bottom of the battling platform had only burned half of it. Only when it was completely burned would the great formation automatically close. Big brother, hurry up and leave. Don't clash with the people from the Dragon Fist sect. Big brother, we, the disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace, will be very grateful to you. We are very grateful to you for having such intentions. After all, no one could save that woman. If Qin Yun were to clash with the Dragon Fist sect again, it would not be worth it. Ha ha! Little girl, I will let you die comfortably. The wretched man laughed maniacally. The male disciples also opened their eyes wide and looked on with great anticipation, shouting nonstop. Big guy, hurry up and get on top of her. Don't dawdle. The Violet Spirit Star Palace's shameless bastards are so aloof. We must kill them. The group of people below jeered. The old man floating in the air also smiled as he watched, stroking his beard. Suddenly, the earth shook. Everyone immediately cried out involuntarily. Qin Yun, who had been gathering his strength, took a deep breath as black gas surged from his body. The vibration martial spirit in his body roared with rage. The invisible vibration power shook the earth and released its rage. Boom! Qin Yun suddenly charged down from the sky. The heavenly lion's arm exploded with purple gold, lightning, and fire. The furious lion's roar echoed out, and the sound waves whistled across the horizon, causing the wind and clouds to surge. Roar! Qin Yun's fist exploded with purple gold, lightning fire. It transformed into a ferocious and mighty gigantic purple gold lion head. It was filled with might as it charged into an array pillar. Rumble! The top of the pillar was struck by Qin Yun's furious lion fist and immediately shattered. The shattered rocks, along with the shock wave, caused the disciples of the Dragon Fist Spirit sect near the battling platform to be riddled with bloody holes. In order to see the wretched man humiliate the purple-clothed woman, these disciples all rushed forward and chased the disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace to the back. And now, they have also been hit by Qin Yun's vibration storm, and all of them are seriously injured. The battle stage's formation had been destroyed. Furthermore, it was broken so violently. Qin Yun stood on the stage and looked at the vulgar man. He said coldly, "Your existence has already insulted the martial Tao. I'm lucky enough to become a martial artist, so I can't let scum like you disgrace the spirit of martial arts. I can't let you trample on martial arts. You can go and die now." With that said, Qin Yun punched out with a superb flaming light fist. A blazing flame filled with the power of justice entered the wretched man's body and burned him to ashes. "You? Who are you? How dare you? How dare you interfere in this kind of martial arts competition?" The old man from the Dragon Fist Spirit sect, who was floating in the air, was also stunned. After being shocked, he roared angrily. The more than 10,000 people around the battling platform also sucked in a breath of cold air. Someone had really broken through that sturdy formation and even killed the martial artists on it. Qin Yun took off his black robe and covered the injured woman. He said softly, "My robe has high-grade light runes engraved on it. It can help you recover quickly." Following that, Lan Fengjin also flew over to protect the woman. When the female disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace saw Qin Yun's broad and sturdy back, they could not help but feel a sense of worship. They were very excited, but most of them were worried. They were worried that the heroes on the battling platform would be punished. "Uncle, thank you." The female disciple who had been saved had tears in her eyes as she said gratefully. Qin Yun looked at her and smiled. "Don't call me uncle. I'm only 18 years old. I'm even younger than you." Hua! Below the martial stage, there was an uproar. Such a powerful figure was actually only 18 years old. This caused the eyes of many of the female disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace to flash with stars. Immediately, a deep sense of love rose in their hearts. "You? Quickly answer me. Who exactly are you?" The old man was ignored by Qin Yun. He was even more furious. At that moment, the martial Tao realm cultivators from the other sects had also surrounded him. Qin Yun said indifferently, "A villain like you is not worthy of knowing my name. If I let you know my name, I would feel that it's an insult. Hurry up and F***CK off. Just looking at you makes my eyes hurt. Brat, you're courting death." The old man was instantly enraged. He fiercely punched out, and the ferocious power of the great Tao shot out like the roar of a dragon. The Dragon Fist Spirit sect's strongest technique was the Dragon Fist art. The punch was fast and ferocious, but in Qin Yun's eyes, it was very slow. "The one courting death is you." Qin Yun snorted disdainfully and punched out. The power of the great Tao immediately exploded out, causing the entire battling platform to collapse. Qin Yun's fist trembled as he mixed the dense internal supreme force with the power of the great Tao and gathered it. Then, coupled with a totem martial art like the Heavenly Lion's lightning force, the power was extremely terrifying. The old man never expected that Qin Yun would actually exchange blows with him. Boom! The dragon fist and lion fist collided, and the dragon and lion roared. The two great Tao energies shattered the large plaza. The terrifying aftermath even swept up a hurricane. Ah! The old man let out a blood-curdling scream. The arm he used to punch was broken at the shoulder, and his upper body was covered in blood. An old man of the martial Tao realm was actually defeated by an 18-year-old youth with a single punch. Fine, since you're courting death, I'll tell you my name. This way, when you see the King of Hell, you can also tell him who killed you. Tell him not to thank me. Listen up, my name is Qin Yun. I'm the sect master of the Blue Spirit Star Palace's Inscription Gate. Qin Yun could sense the other party's intense, killing intent. He took 2 steps forward and used his hand as a blade to execute the Six-style Wind Slayer, chopping the old man into pieces that burned with purple flames. The elder of the martial Tao realm was dead. After the calm and tranquil square, everyone was stunned. The few old men in charge of supervising the competition were also shocked as they looked at Qin Yun in shock. They didn't dare to go over. At this moment, they also knew who the person who had suddenly appeared was. It was the famous Qin Yun of Blue Spirit Star Palace. Qin Yun had mastered the art of soul refining, was a high-ranked inscription master, and had stepped into the martial Tao realm before the age of 20. Furthermore, he had dual martial spirits, dual Tao cores, and dual totems. No matter which one it was, even in the martial desolate land, he was a rare genius, not to mention that all of them were on him. Blue Spirit Star Palace has merged with the Violet Spirit Star Palace. Even if you're the sect master of the Inscription Gate, you are still a part of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. But now, you have destroyed the martial arts competition that our 4 sects have agreed upon. How are you going to take responsibility? An old woman from the Drifting Spirit Valley took a deep breath and asked loudly. Qin Yun laughed loudly and said, "Responsible? I'm a member of the Violet Spirit Star Palace, so I naturally have to be responsible for the disciples of my sect. I can't just watch as a disciple of my Violet Spirit Star Palace is humiliated in public. Saving her is the same as being responsible. Killing the person who wants to humiliate her is also a responsibility. Scram back and tell your sect leader. Our Violet Spirit Star Palace disdains cooperating with a mob like you. There's no need for this martial arts competition. Even if we obtain the leadership, we will give up. We don't want to lead you bunch of animals." The disciples and seniors of the Wind Spirit Sect, Floating Spirit Valley and Dragon Fist Sect were infuriated when they heard Qin Yun's words. However, none of them dared to breathe loudly. In a martial, desolate land, they knew very well how terrifying a totem martial artist who had stepped into the martial Tao realm was. Not to mention a martial artist with 2 martial spirits and 2 totems. The disciples of the Dragon Fist Sect were the most injured and also the most heavily injured. However, they deserved it. At this moment, a voice came from the distant sky. "All of you go back. If you have any dissatisfaction, ask your sect leader to come here and discuss it with me. I, Zi Qingsheng, will definitely give them a satisfactory answer." The voice that suddenly sounded was ethereal and agile. Amidst the gentleness, there was a trace of power that no one dared to resist. Zi Qingsheng was the Violet Spirit Star Palace of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. Palace Master of the Violet Spirit Palace, we will report this matter to the sect leader. An old man snorted coldly and left with his injured disciple. The disciples of the various sects quickly left. Many of them even ran away. This was because Qin Yun's domineering killing intent was simply too terrifying. Only the female disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace were left. They could not help but discuss in low voices as they looked at the handsome Qin Yun with an extraordinary bearing. He's Xiao Yuelan's husband. He is indeed not simple. He's truly a dragon amongst men. Moreover, he's filled with justice and he's also very good-looking. I heard that in order to save Yang Shiryu, he engaged in a great battle that shook the heavens and the earth. It's unbelievable that such a genius could be born in this border region that is lacking in resources. Some of the female disciples approached, wanting to see Qin Yun's appearance clearly. When Qin Yun saw them approaching, he smiled. "Don't call me big brother or uncle in the future. You're making me old." This caused the girls to burst into laughter. Many of the female disciples also went to pay their respects to the injured female disciple. Lan Fengjin said in a low voice, "She's fine now." "Thank you." Sect leader Qin. The woman's face was flushed red as she returned the black robe to Qin Yun. After Qin Yun put it on, he glanced at the nearby Palace Master Ling. Before Palace Master Ling brought Qin Yun here, she would never have imagined that Qin Yun would actually kill a martial Dao realm cultivator here. "Qin Yun, come to the Qingcheng Pavilion. I want to talk to you." Zi Qingqing's voice suddenly sounded again. The female disciples immediately cried out. The Qingcheng Pavilion is the Palace Master's most private place. Men are never allowed to enter. The Palace Master has made an exception to allow Sect Master Qin to enter. How rare! Chapter 339. Being tied up. When Qin Yun heard the discussions of the female disciples, he knew that Zi Qingcheng attached great importance to him. Otherwise, she would not have invited him to the Qingcheng Pavilion. "Palace Master Violet Spirit, let me ask you, why didn't you save our sect's disciples just now?" Qin Yun did not immediately agree. Instead, he coldly questioned, "I was originally a disciple of Blue Spirit Star Palace. Now that I have merged with your Violet Spirit Star Palace, I have also become a part of you. However, when you saw that your sect's disciples were about to be humiliated, you didn't do anything to save them. I don't want to see an irresponsible palace master like you." The female disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace immediately fell silent as they secretly exclaimed in their hearts. They were very surprised that Qin Yun dared to speak to their palace master in such a manner. However, their hearts felt warm because Qin Yun was very concerned about the disciples of their sect. Zi Qingqing's voice did not come for a long time. It was obvious that she did not know how to reply. After a long while, Zi Qingqing's light and ethereal voice slowly sounded. "I was wrong. I, Zi Qingqing, hereby apologize to the disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. I guarantee that this will never happen again. I will definitely cherish the disciples of my sect in the future. You didn't even show your face. Your apology is insincere," Qin Yun said with dissatisfaction. The disciples of the Violet Spirit Star Palace were very surprised to be able to make Zi Qingqing apologize. They also forgave their palace master in their hearts. However, Qin Yun felt that it was not sincere enough. "I have some reasons right now, so I can't leave the Qingqing Pavilion for the time being. When I get out, I will definitely apologize to the disciples in person." Zi Qingqing faintly sighed and asked, "Can you come to Qingqing Pavilion now? I'll wait for you at the inscription gate." Qin Yun's answer was very shocking. It was rare for the Violet Spirit Palace Master to invite a man to her Qingqing Pavilion, but he was rejected time and time again. Although Zi Qingqing did not show her face, everyone could guess that she must have a dumbfounded expression on her face. Qin Yun continued, "That's your territory, and you are at the spirit realm. I'm worried that you are plotting against me. So, you should come to my inscription gate." Everyone didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It was as if they could see Zi Qingqing flipping the table. "Sect Leader Qin, aren't you worried too much? How could Palace Master Violet Spirit possibly plot against you?" Palace Master Ling hurriedly whispered, "What's impossible about it? I have 2 martial spirits, 2 totems, and I am also the inscription sect leader. I have mastered high-level inscriptions, and my looks are unparalleled. There are many people who have improper thoughts about me, so of course I have to be on guard," Qin Yun said with a serious expression. "Palace Master Violet Spirit never allows men to enter her boudoir. Now that she has invited him in, she definitely has ill intentions. Zi Qingqing's voice didn't come out. She was probably speechless, or perhaps she was so angry that her delicate body was trembling, unable to speak. Palace Master Violet's spirit. If you come to the inscription gate to find me, it's best if you come during the day. If you come at night, I'm afraid my reputation will be tarnished. All right, I'm going back. I just had a fight, and I'm very tired. With that said, Qin Yun pulled Lan Fengjin and flew into the sky. In a blink of an eye, they disappeared into the horizon. The group of female disciples from the Violet Spirit Star Palace stared blankly at Qin Yun's disappearing back. In their hearts, they felt even more admiration for this great hero. Lan Fengjin followed Qin Yun and flew in the air. She said with a charming smile, "Master, you were so cool just now. All right, why didn't you go to the Qingqing Pavilion? Are you really afraid of that Palace Master Violet Spirit? I heard that she's a heavenly beauty." Qin Yun curled his lips. "Of course I can't just agree to it. I'm the sect master of the inscription gate after all. If I had to do whatever she says, how would I be able to survive in the future? I have to show her my strength first. Furthermore, I have to let her know that I, Qin Yun, am not the kind of man who thinks with his lower body. I'm not that easy to control." "That's true. After all, Master is the boss of the inscription gate. If you want to master a high-level inscription, you have to put on some airs and show off." Lan Fengjin thought for a moment and felt that Qin Yun's actions made sense. Qin Yun said with a smile, "Didn't she do as I asked her to apologize to those female disciples? This is called taking the lead. I want her to follow my rhythm. Otherwise, she will ride on top of my head." Lan Fengjin smiled and gave Qin Yun a thumbs up. Soon, Qin Yun and Lan Fengjin flew back to the Silver Mountain and entered the hall from the cave at the top. Qin Yun took out the jade pendant and opened up a few passageways. There were many stone doors in the passageways. They were all stone rooms. Lan Fengjin could now be considered a disciple of the inscription gate and could also live here. The moment she received the high-grade spirit inscription from Qin Yun, she hurriedly entered a stone room and studied it seriously. Qin Yun sat in the hall, took out the star flame liquid and dripped it into his eyes. The risk of dripping the star flame liquid into his eyes was great, but if he succeeded, he would be able to release a very strong flame from his eyes. It's a success. Qin Yun's eyes absorbed the energy of the star flame liquid in an instant. To him, the process was like sand entering his eyes. He controlled the purple flames to gush out from his eyes. They condensed into two extremely hot flames that struck a piece of high-grade bone steel. The bone steel instantly turned red. The consumption is quite high. It's not bad to use it to trick people. Qin Yun nodded in satisfaction. He had defeated Xiao Yanglong and obtained a Sun-Moon Profound Bowl. The Sun-Moon Profound Bowl could absorb the essence of the sun and moon and condense a liquid that could accelerate the growth of medicinal herbs. This thing is indeed severely damaged. The two blood inscriptions are damaged, but they can still be used. If they are repaired, it should be a very high-grade Xian artifact. Qin Yun put away the Sun-Moon Divine Bowl. He would use it when he needed pills in the future. Right now, the most important thing was to open the second bead of the Nine Yang Divine Spirit. This would take a period of time to break through the second bead's formation. Just as he was about to enter the stone room, he suddenly sensed a very strong aura. He hurriedly opened the door, and a fragrant and intoxicating breeze blew in. A beautiful woman wearing a purple dress appeared in the hall. She wore purple accessories, a purple hairpin, purple earrings, and a beautiful purple dress. It made her look even more noble and dignified, with peerless beauty. Qin Yun did not need to guess to know that it was Zi Qingqing. Previously, he had also seen Xue Zai dressed in purple. However, her style was cold and simple. As for the Zi Qingqing in front of him, she was extremely beautiful and dignified. She was very different from Xue Zai. She was at the spirit martial realm, and her aura was very strong. She gave off a high and mighty feeling that no one dared to look at her. The moment Zi Qingqing entered, she carefully sized up Qin Yun. Qin Yun was also looking at her. Furthermore, he was looking at her from head to toe without restraint. He felt that the Zi Qingchang in front of him might not be the most beautiful woman he had ever seen, but she had a unique charm and temperament. It might also be related to her powerful strength. Who are you? This is too rude. Qin Yun was initially stunned by Zi Qingqing's aura, but he quickly regained his senses. You already know the answer. Zi Qingchang frowned slightly and snorted with her gentle voice. I am Zi Qingchang. Qin Yun laughed and said, So it's the palace master of the Violet Spirit Palace. You came really quickly, but this doesn't seem too polite. If you barge in like this, and I'm taking a bath or something, that would be awkward. Qin Yun, you asked me to come find you. I'm here. Now, can we get down to business? Zi Qingchang seemed to be able to tell that Qin Yun did not want to discuss business with her directly. This was intentional. It was to show her some strength. Qin Yun pointed to a chair and said, Then please take a seat. All right, how are Teacher Yang's injuries? What about Yuan? Has she stepped into the martial Dao realm? Sure, Yue's situation is rather complicated. She won't be able to recover in a short period of time. However, with her purple moon martial spirit, I will definitely do my best to help her recover. Zi Qingchang sat down gracefully. She looked at Qin Yun, who was sitting at the seat of honor. She felt somewhat displeased. After all, she was the palace master of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. However, Qin Yun was talking to her from above. Yuan is in seclusion. It's only a matter of time before she breaks through. Qin Yun nodded and said, Palace Master Violet Spirit, what business do you have with me? Zi Qingchang said two things. First, in the plaza of the Violet Spirit Star Palace, you killed 2 warriors of the Dragon Fist sect and injured many disciples of those 3 sections. They will definitely come looking for trouble with you. Second, if you can pass the examination of the Inscription Gate and obtain the inheritance of the Inscription Gate, I hope that you can help me when my Violet Spirit Star Palace needs your help in the future. The inscription inheritance I obtained from the Inscription Gate is not something that I can grasp right now, so I can't help you right now. Qin Yun sighed. He was telling the truth. Those star runes and moon runes were indeed extremely difficult to learn. Then, the soul refining technique and high-grade spirit inscriptions that you have mastered will also be of great help to our Violet Spirit Star Palace. Zi Qingchang said in a low voice. If you need it, please do your best. In terms of reward, I will not treat you unfairly. That's easy to say. When you need it, let's talk about it again. Then let's leave it at that for today. I still have urgent matters to attend to. Palace Master Zi, please. Qin Yun walked out of his seat to send Zi Qingqing off. Zi Qingchang frowned as a trace of dissatisfaction appeared on her face. She said with a bitter tone, Qin Yun, don't you plan on talking to me about the future development of our Violet Spirit Star Palace? Let's talk about it later. I'm really busy. Qin Yun was in a hurry to open the second bead to take a look. He wished that he could send Zi Qingchang flying with a kick. Zi Qingchang was immediately stunned. She now viewed Qin Yun as a very important person in the Violet Spirit Star Palace. That was why she had planned to discuss future development with him. However, Qin Yun had ordered her to leave. Not to mention this, she was the dignified palace master of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. Even in the martial desolate land, she was a distinguished guest of many famous sections. However, the little demon in front of her was in a hurry to chase her away. Qin Yun, you are going too far. If you don't give me any face, I will have to give it to you. I have to show my might. Zi Qingqing's face was cold. As soon as she stood up, she took out a rope that flickered with a purple light. She threw the rope out, and it transformed into a purple light that leaped towards Qin Yun, tying him up. What are you doing? After Qin Yun was tied up, he could not help but be alarmed. He also realized that the rope was extremely powerful. It was at the level of a Xian artifact and was not something he could easily break free from. Chapter 340. Talisman Weapon Without Saying a Word. Zi Qingcheng carried Qin Yun out of the hall of the inscription gate. After walking out of the cave, the stone door automatically closed. Outside the cave, there was a luxurious purple-gold carriage. Zi Qingcheng threw Qin Yun into the carriage and entered the carriage herself. Under her control, the carriage began to fly quickly. "Damn fat woman, what are you doing?" Qin Yun could not help but shout angrily. This Zi Qingcheng had tied him up for no reason, which made him very angry. "You? What did you call me?" Zi Qingcheng was also dumbfounded. She really wanted to look at her face in the mirror to see if she had really become fat. "Listen up, darn fat hag, darn fat hag, darn fat hag." Qin Yun kept shouting. Zi Qingcheng was so angry that she was at a loss for words. After a moment of silence, she asked angrily, "You're talking nonsense. How am I fat?" She wasn't fat. It was just that her face was a little round. Furthermore, her skeleton was relatively large and her body was slightly plump, making her look relatively large. "Look at your face. I can squeeze out a lot of meat." Qin Yun snorted. "Hurry up and let me go. If the news of me being kidnapped by you gets out, my reputation will be ruined." "You, what are you thinking? Who is ruining your reputation? I just want to bring you into the Qingcheng Pavilion and have a good talk with you." Zi Qingcheng was also infuriated. No one had ever called her fat, but this brat in front of her had actually called her a fat woman. Qin Yun said with a worried expression, "I have dual martial spirits and dual totems. What if you master some evil arts and want to plot against me? Besides, a woman with a cultivation like yours is probably a few hundred years old. You must be like a wolf or a tiger, sitting on the ground and sucking up the earth. It's very dangerous for a young man like me to fall into your hands." Zi Qingcheng was about to go mad with anger. She wished she could immediately throw Qin Yun out and beat him up. I really want to hit you." Zi Qingcheng waved her hand and slapped him. However, she did not hit Qin Yun's face. Instead, she pinched Qin Yun's handsome face. "Little brat, you're so annoying, I'll pinch you to death." Zi Qingcheng bared her jade teeth as she rubbed Qin Yun's face with both hands. "Damn fat woman, you. You dare to disrespect me. I won't let you off." Qin Yun felt very uncomfortable being needed. He kept shouting loudly. Qin Yun's face was red from being tormented, and his hair was a mess. He shrank into a corner of the limousine and didn't say a word. After rubbing Qin Yun's handsome face for a while, Zi Qingcheng felt much better. Qin Yun never expected that this cold and aloof strong woman would act like a child when she lost her temper. Furthermore, she did not play by the rules and kidnapped him for no reason. Zi Qingcheng still looked at Qin Yun angrily and said, "Qin Yun, you should already know that our sect have descended to investigate the immortal graveyard, right?" "Of course I know. I also know that your spirit-level sects are all subsidiary forces of a black-level sect. Now that they've been sent here, they're most likely here to die. It can be seen that none of you spirit-level sects are valued highly by your superiors." Qin Yun curled his lips. Zi Qingcheng nodded. "Smart. Indeed, that Xian sect has over 30 subordinate sects, and a few of us are the weakest. Therefore, we were arranged to be here. If we are unable to find any clues about the immortal graveyard within the stipulated time, we will be completely abandoned by them. So be it." Qin Yun said indifferently. "I think this is pretty good. I don't have to be their dog." Zi Qingcheng sighed softly. "Things are not as simple as you think. Next, there will be many powers coming here for the immortal graveyard. If we didn't have the protection of a Xian sect behind us, we would only be swallowed up and controlled by others. Qin Yun, if you have ambition, you should join hands with us and manage the Violet Spirit Star Palace well. When you grow stronger in the future, you will become a Xian sect." Qin Yun immediately thought about it. He felt that Zi Qingcheng was very ambitious. She wanted to grow up in the borders and become independent, leaving behind that Xian sect. Yuelon has the immortal graveyard diagram on her. Zi Qingcheng said again. "Palace Mistress Zi, don't you dare have any ideas about Yuelon. The immortal graveyard is not as simple as you think." Qin Yun's expression turned cold as he said, If you want to rely on the immortal graveyard to make the Violet Spirit Star Palace stronger, then forget it. Zi Qingcheng hurriedly explained. Don't worry, Yuelon's aptitude is very good. I won't let her take the risk. I'm just telling you the situation at the borders. Because this is the immortal graveyard near the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range. Many sects will be stationed here soon. Right now, there is a Xin sect behind our Violet Spirit Star Palace, so we don't have to worry about being attacked. Qin Yun also knew that there were many powerful sects in the martial desolate land. A half-dead sect, like the Violet Spirit Star Palace, was a very powerful existence to the empires and martial academies at the borders, let alone the Xian and Qing sects. As the carriage slowly flew, Qin Yun fell into deep thought. Suddenly, the flying caravan suddenly trembled, accompanied by a very strong magical beast aura pouring in. Zi Qingqing's expression suddenly changed. Crap, we've been attacked by a flying magical beast. She hurriedly closed her eyes to investigate the situation outside. Her beautiful jade-like face also turned heavy. The carriage has been swallowed. We're in the body of a flying magical beast. She opened her eyes and said solemnly. Qin Yun's expression changed as well. Could it be that the flying carriage was swallowed just now? Zi Qingqing nodded. The Violet Spirit Star Palace was not far from the Blue Spirit Star Palace, but there were very few powerful flying magical beasts that appeared here. To be able to fly over and swallow the carriage, a flying magical beast must be extremely large. Right now, the flying carriage was inside the gigantic flying magical beast body. Don't worry, this flying magical beast is only a spirit beast. It's not my match. Zi Qingcheng closed her eyes as her body emitted a purple aura that contained a terrifying power. The carriage also began to shake violently. The flying magical beast seemed to have made a big move. Half an hour later, the limousine suddenly trembled. The flying magical beast couldn't withstand my strength and fell to the ground. As Zi Qingcheng spoke, an even stronger force burst out from her body and penetrated the carriage. The carriage was wrapped in a purple mist as it suddenly rose up, piercing through the body of the magical beast and successfully running out. However, just as the carriage flew out, it was struck by several forces, and this time, it was the power of a human. It was a very dense power of the Great Tao. This level of Great Tao power should be at the 6th or 7th level of the Martial Tao realm. There are a total of more than 10 Martial Tao realm cultivators attacking this carriage. Zi Qingcheng was immediately infuriated. Someone wants to ambush me. She hurriedly ran out, leaving Qin Yun inside. This damned fat woman. She actually didn't untie me. Qin Yun struggled for a moment before cursing softly. So careless. You really have big breasts and no brains. You still want to achieve great things. I'm not going to accompany you. Qin Yun took out an eyeball that he had refined and threw it out. Then, he used his mental energy to look at the situation outside. He quickly saw that the gigantic flying magical beast was dozens of meters long. It seemed to be a giant black eagle lying on the ground. It should be dead. Zi Qingcheng was able to kill a very strong spirit beast in the carriage. Her strength was indeed very strong. They were in a forest. The trees here were all over 100 meters tall and were very huge. However, they were all flattened by the shock waves produced by the falling, flying magical beast. Zi Qingcheng floated in the air, a few meters above the ground. Looking at the dozen or so elders in front of her, she said coldly, Dragon Fist Sect, Wind Spirit Sect, Floating Spirit Valley. Your 3 sects actually joined forces to attack me. Aren't you afraid that I'll report this to the higher-ups? A gray-haired old man said, This is our private action. It has nothing to do with the sect behind us. Zi Qingcheng, your Violet Spirit Star Palace has reaped a great harvest. You have obtained Blue Spirit Star Palace, Xiao Yuelon, who possesses the immortal graveyard diagram, and Qin Yun, who has mastered the art of soul refining. Seeing that you have just returned from Blue Spirit Star Palace, You should have come to an agreement with Qin Yun. Zi Qinsheng, now that you have so many resources in your hands, have your ambitions skyrocketed? You want to leave the higher-ups and leave us alone? Qin Yun killed our martial Dao Realm Elder and an outstanding martial Body Realm disciple. How do you plan on compensating us? When Zi Qinsheng saw the weapons in their hands, she said with a sneer, "You guys are holding a few royal grade talisman weapons. This is something even more precious than ordinary Xian artifacts. Only the elders of the spirit realm in the sect have them. They must have lent them to you. You still say that this is your private operation? Aren't you lying?" Qin Yun was alarmed. He had never heard of talisman weapon. He felt that he should ask Shuchuan. This seemed to be an extraordinary item. Attack! After the gray-haired old man finished speaking, he threw out a long sword in his hand. After the long sword flew out, it actually flashed with lightning and turned into purple lightning, striking at Zi Qinsheng. Zi Qinsheng waved her sleeve and formed a purple screen of light. The flying sword collided with the purple screen of light, stirring up a violent thunderstorm that forced Zi Qinsheng to retreat dozens of steps. The resulting shockwave also sent the RV flying. The crystal eyeball that Qin Yun had released had also been shattered. As a result, he could not see what was happening outside. However, he could hear deafening sounds coming from the carriage. The carriage was also pushed by the waves of air until it was finally stuck at the root of a large tree. "Mo, come out and see if you can get rid of this rope," Qin Yun said. Mo came out to take a look and said, "It shouldn't be a problem. If I destroy a tiny bit of the dark lines, I can make this Xian artifact lose its effectiveness." Indeed, she quickly succeeded. Qin Yun spent a lot of effort to break free from the rope. He was in a sorry state, and his clothes were in a mess. Outside, it had quietened down as well. Qin Yun threw out a crystal eyeball and saw blood flowing from the corner of Zi Qinsheng's mouth. Her face was pale, and she was spreading her arms, releasing waves of purple gas. The dozen or so elders around her were all holding a mirror that was half the height of a person. Those mirrors seemed to have a very strong power. When they shone on Zi Qinsheng, she was unable to move. In order to activate the power of the mirror, the dozen or so elders were under a lot of pressure. All of them had serious expressions on their faces. Although Zi Qinsheng could not move, she was still at the spirit realm, and the power she released was very strong. Those dozen or so elders could not take her down in a short period of time. These fellows from a martial desolate land have a lot of strange things in their hands. There are more than 10 of them in the martial Dao realm, and each of them can use a mirror to restrain that damned fat woman. They really do have some ability. Chapter 341. Extracting Spirit Marks. Chapter 341. Extracting Spirit Marks. Qin Yun took out more than 10 high-grade bone talismans and walked out of the carriage. "If we persist like this, it won't do anyone any good," Zi Qinsheng suddenly said. "If a spirit beast comes, once we are interrupted, all of us will be injured. As long as our mysterious mirror seal's power successfully breaks through your defense, we will be able to seal you. Zi Qinsheng, you won't be able to hold on for long. The explosion of our talisman weapons just now also heavily injured you. Quickly give up." Zi Qinsheng sneered. "This Xian mirror seal magic tool is connected to your souls. If you do not succeed and are interrupted, your souls will definitely be torn apart. You are really taking a risk." The gray-haired elder said, "As long as we take you down, we can capture Xiao Yuelan alive, obtain the immortal graveyard diagram, and immediately return to the martial desolate land. If we report to the higher-ups, we don't have to stay in this damned place. You are hiding Xiao Yuelan and refusing to let her hand over the immortal graveyard diagram. It is obvious that you want to monopolize the secrets of the immortal graveyard." Suddenly, someone saw Qin Yun. "Brat, who are you?" A yellow-haired elder saw Qin Yun walk over from the carriage. "I am your uncle Qin Yun." Qin Yun hurriedly walked over and placed a talisman on the yellow-haired elder's forehead. The dozen or so elders immediately sucked in a deep breath of cold air. When they saw Qin Yun's clothes in disarray as he came out of the carriage, they immediately thought of something. Zi Qingsheng, you are truly despicable. In order to obtain Qin Yun's soul refining technique and the mysterious inscriptions of the inscription gate, you actually seduced him. I really didn't expect that the pure and aloof Zi Qingsheng, who is known as the Violet Spirit Jade Maiden, would actually sell her pure and holy body in order to achieve her goal and have an affair with a little brat in a flying carriage. Zi Qingsheng, Qin Yun is Xiao Yuelan's husband. You actually seduced a married man. If this news were to spread to the martial desolate, no one would believe it. Zi Qingsheng was so angry that her entire body was trembling. More blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. Fat woman, I already said that it's easy for people to overthink this. Qin Yun cursed softly. He arrived in front of the old man and ruthlessly slapped him a few times. The old man, who was slapped a few times, roared in anger. Qin Yun, you are courting death. Qin Yun said with sneer. You are about to die, yet you still have so much bullshit to say. At this moment, Qin Yun stuck a talisman on each old man's forehead, and they were all slapped by Qin Yun more than 10 times. One had to know that they were all at the 6th or 7th level of the martial body stage. With this kind of strength, they had quite a bit of status in the sect. However, they were ruthlessly slapped in the face by a brat. Slapping the face doesn't hurt the body, but it hurts the self-esteem. This made them feel extremely humiliated, and they wished they could swallow Qin Yun alive. Qin Yun, what talisman is that? Let's talk this out. An old man suddenly said with some fear. A superior grade poison spirit talisman. It's something that can poison people with spirit runes. I don't know how effective it is. I've made more than 20 of these talismans, but I've never tried them. Qin Yun smiled. You're saying that I'm having an affair with Zi Qingsheng? That's impossible, but if you go back alive, you'll definitely talk nonsense, so don't even think about living. After he finished speaking, he activated the poison spirit talismans. The talisman immediately released a black aura, releasing waves of talisman power that poured into his head from his forehead. The old men let out miserable cries and had no choice but to drop the mirrors in their hands and roll on the ground. Zi Qingsheng's delicate body went limp, and she nearly collapsed. Thankfully, Qin Yun walked over to support her. So heavy, and you still say you're not fat. Qin Yun hugged Zi Qingsheng and curled his lips. Then, he carefully placed her on the ground. The old men were all poisoned and were rolling on the ground in pain. Qin Yun walked over and put away all the mystic mirror seal magical artifacts. When he went to take the old men's storage spirit artifacts, he found that they all had blood contract markings. He could only helplessly destroy them. Qin Yun, you should have killed them quickly just now. There's no need to waste talismans on them. Zi Qingsheng felt much more relaxed as she hurriedly circulated her energy to heal her injuries. That won't do. I have to extract their martial spirits. Qin Yun chuckled as he walked over and extracted the martial spirit from a gray-haired elder. Very quickly, the old man let out a series of miserable screams like a pig being slaughtered. Golden sword martial spirit, trash martial spirit. Qin Yun was somewhat disappointed. However, a mosquito's leg was still meat, so he accepted it for now. The other elders were all poisoned and injured. However, they were still at the 6th or 7th level of the martial Dao realm, so they wouldn't die that quickly. Therefore, they could all see the process of Qin Yun's soul extraction. Zi Qingsheng's beautiful eyes widened as she watched. She was secretly alarmed. Following that, the sound of pigs being slaughtered could be heard as Qin Yun extracted the martial spirits of the elders one by one. The strongest is only a platinum ice martial spirit. Sigh, it's all trash martial spirits, a waste of my energy. Qin Yun placed the martial spirits into the soul-sealing pearl and kept them properly. The poisoned old man lying on the ground was filled with incomparable resentment. His heart was bleeding, and he was in endless despair. What infuriated them the most was that Qin Yun had extracted their martial spirits and even despised them. Qin Yun, we have no enmity with you. Why are you so vicious to us? You are so vicious at such a young age. You will definitely be an evil demon in the future. The gray-haired elder said angrily. Didn't you say that you wanted to capture Yuan alive? She's my wife. You want to capture her alive and take away her immortal graveyard diagram. And you still say that you have no enmity with me? Qin Yun snorted and took out a furnace. Also, even if you are about to die, I still want to tell you that nothing happened between me and Zi Qingsheng. She's still far from being able to seduce me. After Qin Yun finished speaking, he threw the elders into the furnace one by one. Then, he used the Nether Sun purple flame to activate the alchemy runes inside and turn them into ashes. Hurry up and get out of here. We have already passed the Cloud Dragon River. This place is extremely dangerous. Zi Qingchang suddenly sensed a strong magical beast aura and hurriedly said. She stood up, pulled Qin Yun, and ran towards the limousine. After entering the caravan, she hurriedly controlled the caravan to fly away from this place. Not long after, the caravan landed. That was because Zi Qingsheng was getting weaker and weaker. They did not know why. The purple gold caravan landed on a large tree and was stuck in the dense branches. What's wrong with you? Qin Yun was also somewhat worried about Zi Qingsheng. She was a martial artist of the spirit realm. If she was severely injured and attacked by a powerful magical beast, it would be very dangerous. I was injured by a talisman weapon. Zi Qingsheng bit her lips and said in a low voice, Once you are hit by a talisman weapon, your body will be branded with spirit marks. If you can't get rid of the spirit marks in time, it will cause great harm to your body. I'm good at this. Where are those spirit marks? Qin Yun rolled up his sleeves and said, It's here. Zi Qingsheng rubbed her chest with her hand. Qin Yun frowned and said, This place doesn't seem to be very convenient. It hurts my hand. There's one on my back as well. There are a total of 2 spirit marks branded on my body, both on my chest and back. Zi Qingsheng sighed helplessly. Those fellows came prepared. If it wasn't for you, I might have been captured by them. To think you tied me up. If it wasn't for the fact that I could untie myself, we would all be finished. You are really careless. Qin Yun reprimanded. I'm sorry, it's my fault. Zi Qingsheng also apologized with a sense of self-blame. She was also very surprised that Qin Yun could untie her rope. That was a Xian rank spirit weapon. Qin Yun came behind her and said, I'll help you get rid of the spirit marks on your back first. Zi Qingsheng nodded slightly and turned around, her back facing Qin Yun. The purple dress on her upper body slowly slid down, revealing her tender, snow-white back, as well as her jade-like waist. Qin Yun looked at the alluring jade back and remained unmoved. That was because all his attention was focused on the black spirit marks on the jade back. He reached out his hand and rubbed the spirit marks on Zi Qingsheng's back. He could not help but say, You're really a little fat. It feels like you're fleshy. Little rascal. Hurry up and do something serious. Zi Qingsheng let out a soft moan and scolded. Qin Yun did not know what kind of spirit marks it was, but there were both bright and dark marks. He said, I might need some time. I want to collect the spirit marks on your back. It might be useful to me. It's quite complicated. It should be a royal grade spirit mark. I only have a lot of high-grade spiritual inscriptions. I have very few supreme grade and royal grade spiritual inscriptions. He hurriedly took out a pen and paper and quickly recorded the spirit marks on Zi Qingsheng's back. Zi Qingsheng wanted to curse in her heart. Her current situation was very serious. However, Qin Yun was excitedly recording the spirit marks, as though he had picked up a treasure. Qin Yun spent more than an hour to record the spirit mark. Then, he used the power of the blood soul to combine it with his mental force to slowly erase the black spirit mark. It only took a moment. So fast. If it was me, I might need several months to remove the spirit mark. Although Zi Qingsheng was very dissatisfied with Qin Yun, She had no choice but to praise Qin Yun's ability. "You can do it yourself." Qin Yun said, "I'm a gentleman, so I won't take advantage of you." This was the first time Zi Qingsheng had met a man who despised her so much. One had to know that in the martial, desolate land, the experts who pursued her could fill the entire plaza of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. "No, you have to help me remove that spirit mark as soon as possible. If I were to do it myself, it would take me more than half a year. This is a waste of my time and energy." Zi Qingxing bit her lips and made a difficult decision. Qin Yun looked at her and said seriously, "This is your own request. Don't use this matter to talk to me in the future. Also, you must keep it a secret. There's no need for you to tell me that." "I'll keep it a secret." Zi Qingshang snorted. "If I were to go into seclusion for half a year, the situation outside would change, and I wouldn't be able to react in time. During this period of time, I have to maintain my best condition. For the sake of the overall situation, I will only—" Before she finished speaking, Qin Yun reached out his hand and pulled down her dress. Zi Qingsheng was taken aback. She never expected Qin Yun to be so swift. Chapter 342. Heart flies to the martial, desolate Zi Qingsheng closed her eyes. She was extremely nervous, and the carriage was very quiet. She could hear her own heartbeat and the rustling sound of Qin Yun's pen on the paper. "You little rascal, you're actually recording the spirit inscriptions so seriously." She opened her eyes and saw that Qin Yun was completely focused on recording the spirit inscriptions on her upper body. He did not pay any attention to anything else. This made her secretly wonder if she was really that unbearable to not be attractive to men at all. Zi Qingsheng looked at Qin Yun with some hidden bitterness and said softly, "Can you make good use of these spirit inscriptions?" "Of course I can." Qin Yun looked at Zi Qingsheng's chest without blinking. It was unknown if he was looking at the spirit inscriptions or something else. Zi Qingsheng felt that as long as she did not tell anyone about this matter, it would be fine. However, she still felt very shy. Her jade-like face turned red and her eyes were filled with shyness. "Hurry up," she shouted softly. "I'll be done soon." This spirit inscription is not as complicated as the back, Qin Yun said as he continued to seriously record the spirit inscriptions. After he finished recording, he used his finger to draw on the spirit inscriptions on Zi Qingqing's body. He erased those spirit inscriptions at a very fast speed. After she was done, Zi Qingqing hurriedly put on the purple dress and wrapped her body tightly. However, the feeling of Qin Yun caressing her body remained deep in her mind. As for Qin Yun, he was staring at the two spirit inscriptions in a daze. It was as if nothing had happened. "I never thought that your mental state would be so high." Zi Qingsheng used her cultivation to recuperate and said softly, "Now, I finally know why you're so heavy even though you don't look fat. The meat is growing where it should grow." Qin Yun chuckled. Zi Qingqing's face immediately flushed red. She closed her eyes and stopped talking. Qin Yun put away the two pieces of paper and suddenly extended his hand. He placed it on Zi Qingqing's slightly round face and rubbed it back and forth. "Little rascal, what are you doing?" Zi Qingsheng was immediately infuriated as she shouted. "You rubbed my face like that before. I was just taking revenge." Qin Yun chuckled and said, "Your bun face is really easy to rub." Zi Qingsheng released an aura and pushed Qin Yun away. She shouted angrily, "You're the one with a bun face." Qin Yun leaned against a corner and glanced at the spot where Zi Qingsheng had been branded with spirit marks. When Zi Qingsheng saw the look in his eyes, she suddenly realized that the steamed bun that Qin Yun was referring to was not only her face, but something else. She fiercely glared at Qin Yun, then closed her eyes and continued to nurse her body. She suddenly felt that ever since she came into contact with Qin Yun, the anger she felt was more than all the anger she had felt over the years. Zi Qingsheng had recovered quite a bit of her strength. She controlled the carriage and quickly flew through the air, crossing the Cloud Dragon River and flying towards the Violet Spirit Star Palace. It was also Qin Yun's first time going to the other side of the Cloud Dragon River. Now that he had some understanding, he knew that the trees there were very large, and there were many powerful magic beasts hidden there. Looks like the Dragon Fist sect and the others can control spirit beasts. Right now, they are extremely afraid of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. They can't wait to take care of me because they are worried that I will swallow them up or that I will be the first to find clues to the immortal graveyard. Qin Yun curled his lips and said, "Your struggle is really intense. Now, it's the three sects that have joined forces to deal with me. Although I have annexed the Blue Spirit Star Palace, Lan Shin of the Blue Spirit Star Palace, and a few other martial Dao Realm cultivators have left. In the Blue Spirit Star Palace, only you could be considered powerful." When Zi Qingchang mentioned this matter, she seemed to be somewhat angry. "They don't accept me. Is it because I'm a woman?" After Lan Shan lost the Blue Spirit Star Palace, he patted his bald head and left. The other martial Dao Realm elders were also unwilling to submit to a woman like Zi Qingchang, so they all left the Blue Spirit Star Palace. Qin Yun sighed as well. The Blue Spirit Star Palace had disintegrated just like that. When I see Lan Shan in the future, I will definitely mock this damned baldy for running away after losing. Zi Qingchang smiled. "Qin Yun, now, are you willing to be the pillar of our Violet Spirit Star Palace?" "Not really. When I see Yuan and Teacher Yang, I'll discuss it with them." Qin Yun did not immediately agree. That would be very tiring. Qin Yun, Zi Qingqing's expression changed slightly as she appeared to be in a difficult position. With a face full of guilt, she said, "Yuan and Shuriwei are no longer in the Violet Spirit Star Palace." When Qin Yun, who was sitting in the corner, heard this, he stood up abruptly and shouted in shock. "Where did they go?" "Sister Lan told me that they are all in your Violet Spirit Star Palace. It's mainly because Shuriwei's injuries are too troublesome. I had no choice but to send two old grannies of the Spirit Martial Realm to send her through the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range to the Martial Desolate. Yuan and Zi Yi also want to go, and I agreed." Zi Qingqing lowered her head, not daring to look at Qin Yun. Passing through the Cloud Dragon Mountain Range was extremely dangerous. Qin Yun was very worried when he heard this. He was very angry as he said coldly, "You lied to me? Why didn't you tell me before?" When Zi Qingchang saw that Qin Yun was angry, she hurriedly explained, "Qin Yun, I know you're worried about Yuan. After all, she has the immortal graveyard diagram on her. But don't worry, I'll send them to the Martial Desolate and arrange for them to join a very strong Xian sect. That sect only accepts female disciples. They will be very safe inside. Their martial talent is very high. It will also be very beneficial for them to enter a Xian sect as soon as possible. Moreover, this is also where they decided to go. At that time, they all thought that you wouldn't come out of the inscription gate that quickly." Qin Yun also thought of many things and asked, "You didn't tell me before because you were afraid that I would immediately follow them if I found out that they had gone to the Martial Desolate. The Violet Spirit Star Palace has lost 2 seniors of the Spirit Realm, and the other 3 sects also know about it. That's why they ambushed you, right?" Zi Qingchang sighed and nodded. "I just want to keep you here for a while, so that the Dragon Fist sect and the others won't dare to act recklessly. Just wait for those 2 old grannies to return. Can you really guarantee that Yuan and Teacher won't be threatened by other people?" Qin Yun asked seriously. Zi Qingchang hurriedly nodded and said, "The reason why I sent them to the Xian sect in the Martial Desolate is to give her more protection. The Xian sect they entered was also my former sect. I was expelled because I made a mistake and then entered the Violet Spirit Star Palace. In the end, I inherited the position of Palace Master. Although I was expelled, I have a lot of feelings for that sect. Furthermore, they had secretly helped me before. With Yuan and Shuyue's talent, they will definitely be able to develop very well there." When Zi Qingcheng saw Qin Yun's doubtful expression, she said again, "I promise you, once I stabilize this place, I'll bring you to the Martial Desolate. And Fengjin, I've also heard about her being bullied, and those evil women were also killed by me." The corner of Qin Yun's eyebrows twitched. Those evil women were all in the martial Dao realm. They were not weak to the Violet Spirit Star Palace, but they were killed by Zi Qingsheng so quickly. How do you want me to help you? At that moment, Qin Yin also wanted to go to the Martial Desolate to take a look. If possible, you can provide us with some of the inscriptions you obtained from the inscription gate. Zi Qingsheng said. Qin Yin shook his head and said, the inscriptions I obtained from the inscription gate cannot be spread out. Of course, if your inscription masters can pass the trial of the inscription gate, I will pass it to you. Even if Sister Lan is my disciple, I can't pass it to her. Zi Qingsheng was somewhat disappointed as she sighed softly. Have you heard of beast oil? Is this thing of great help to you? Qin Yin felt that Zi Qingsheng's ambition was not small. He could help her appropriately. If she could really strengthen the Violet Spirit Star Palace in the future, it would be of great help to him. When Zi Qingsheng heard the beast oil, her eyes lit up and she hurriedly nodded. Of course I've heard of it. This thing is very useful and is rather rare in the Martial Desolate. It can be used to quickly refine Xianyuan steel or to refine materials. In short, it's very useful. I'll give you some. This will be of great help to you, right? Qin Yin said. Zi Qingsheng smiled and asked, how much? Half a day later, Qin Yin followed Zi Qingsheng to the Violet Spirit Star Palace. They entered a very large underground secret room. There was a very large pool here, which was originally used to store spirit liquid. But now, it had been filled with beast oil by Qin Yin. The beast oil was poured out by Qin Yin from a bottle. There was still a lot of beast oil inside. Is that enough? Qin Yin looked at Zi Qingsheng's stunned face and could not help but reach out to pinch it. Sister Steam Bun, this beast oil should be enough for you to use for a long time. Zi Qingsheng hurriedly nodded. She was very excited, and her face was full of smiles. Even though Qin Yin had pinched her face and called her Sister Steam Bun, she was no longer angry. After obtaining so much beast oil, she hurriedly went to inform the inscription masters of the Violet Spirit Star Palace. As for Qin Yin, he also left the Violet Spirit Star Palace to the imperial city of the Tian Qin Empire. Qin Yin arrived at the imperial palace of the imperial city and discussed many things with his father in the study. Qin Long also knew that his son had done many great things in Blue Spirit Star Palace. Now that he saw Qin Yin return and that he was at the martial Dao realm, he was very happy. Qin Long sighed. The dragon totem on his face was constantly flashing. Little Yin, the matters of this border area are really one wave after another before one has even subsided. It's like the attack of magical beasts. Now, there are a few large sects that are far stronger than our imperial palaces. After Qin Yin stepped into the martial Dao realm, he realized that his father was not at the first level of the martial Dao. Instead, he was at the second or third level of the martial Dao. He was far stronger than the first level. Qin Yin asked, Father, I've been in contact with the Violet Spirit Palace Master. She said that in the future, there will be more sects stationed here in order to investigate the immortal graveyard. Then, what plans does our Tian Qin Empire have for the future? I've already discussed it with the Demon King. When the time comes, I will choose a more reliable sect to rely on. Qin Long smiled. I had originally planned to join the Violet Spirit Star Palace, but the situation is still unclear. It won't be too late for me to make a decision after the Violet Spirit Star Palace and the other sect have decided who is stronger. That you're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.